Chapter 1301. The two old men on the left and right immediately moved upon hearing the voice, charging at Xiao Chen. With the protection of the battle armor, the two did not fear him. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his hand. "Let me see how hard your tortoise shell is." Without even looking at the two, Xiao Chen stepped forward. He did not draw his saber, holding it in his right hand. Xiao Chen casually thrust forward, easily breaking the other party's attack and knocking him back. Like a magic trick, the lunar shadow saber leaped out and appeared in his left hand, sweeping out wildly. Boom! The black-haired old man wearing the black tortoise battle armor fell to the ground. The two old men used only half of their primordial energy. Compared to Xiao Chen, the difference in strength was like that of clouds and mud. Not giving Xiao Chen any time to rest, Qin Hu charged over with a startling aura. Loud sounds rang out and space trembled. Xiao Chen's empty right hand clashed with Qin Hu's moves. Not only did Xiao Chen not retreat, but he even forced Qin Hu to retreat continuously, panting. After breaking 10 moves, Xiao Chen already held the upper hand. He sent Qin Hu flying with a palm strike. The seemingly complicated and dazzling movements were completed in a breath's time. Fighting 1 against 3, Xiao Chen easily knocked back the 3. Of course, the 3 had the protection of the battle armor and could not sustain any injuries. However, the pain from the heavy blows was unavoidable. "You can't kill me? Let's see if you can kill me or not." As Xiao Chen spoke, he soared into the air and stomped heavily on Qin Hu, who was halfway to his feet, ruthlessly crushing him. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sonic booms resounded. Bai Yu and the white-haired old man, who were knocked back earlier, charged over, wanting to save Qin Hu. However, Xiao Chen did not even bother to look. He still did not draw the lunar shadow saber. He simply swung it out, using a strong saber intent and primordial energy to knock the white-haired old man back. The sharpness of the saber and the force were simply frightening. The lunar shadow saber was like magic. It flew into Xiao Chen's other hand. Holding the hilt, he chopped down heavily. Bai Yu, who was about to injure Xiao Chen, was startled. He reacted quickly and moved very quickly. He clapped his hands together and clamped down on the lunar shadow saber's scabbard. The cracks on the ground spread out like a spiderweb. Bai Yu, who caught the saber, did not have time to think before the force of the saber forced him to kneel on one knee. Xiao Chen's face turned red. Even though he knelt down, it was still very strenuous. He felt like he would not be able to catch Xiao Chen's lunar shadow saber soon. Suddenly, he felt the force on the scabbard disappear. Thinking that Xiao Chen had run out of strength, Zhang Xian was overjoyed. He quickly released his grip and retreated. However, the instant he loosened his grip, an even stronger force surged into the scabbard. He could retract the force at will. When the scabbard pulled back, Bai Yu, who wanted to leave, cried out in pain and tumbled on the ground. On the other side, the white-haired old man attacked again. However, when he saw the lunar shadow saber spinning around and pressing forward, he paled in fright and quickly retreated. Xiao Chen, who had not even moved, used a few moves to beat the two old men into a sorry state. They were in great pain, but they could not rush over. As Xiao Chen dealt with the two old men with his hands, he did not relax either. He continuously stomped on Qin Hu's body. Every step he took caused a loud rumbling sound to ring out. Even if there was a restriction on the ground, it had already shattered. Blood leaked out of a corner of Qin Hu's lips. He was in so much pain that his complexion turned purple. However, when Xiao Chen stomped on him, it was not only a humiliation to his face but also an unbearable pain to his body. When the servant, who had already hidden far away, saw this scene, his mind turned chaotic. Originally, he was worried for Xiao Chen. Now, he felt some pity for these 3 old men. They were too pitiful. If not for this set of battle armor, they might be able to ask for a quick death. "Xiao Chen, let me up!" Qin Hu, who could not get up at all, pleaded to Xiao Chen in pain. He was already in a sorry state, unable to get up. Xiao Chen remained expressionless as he retorted coldly, "Didn't you say that you would not die even if you stood there and let me hit you? Why are you begging for mercy now? Who gave you the confidence to be so arrogant to dare to frame me? Who gave you the authority to torture old Yun and imprison him? Now you are begging for mercy? Dream on." The pain drove Qin Hu crazy with despair. No matter how hard he tried, he could not stand up. He shouted hoarsely, "Fellow Taoists, there is no need to hold back. Activate the Sky Dome Dragon Formation and kill him." The Sky Dome Dragon Formation could kill Emperor Wu, a great killing tool of the Sky Dome Palace. Back then, the Sky Dome Palace was careless when facing Yao Manlan and Feng Zi because of this formation. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the formation was, it still needed a person to operate it. Under Yao Manlan's charm arts, the Sky Dome Dragon Formation could not be activated before it died. As the saying went, this formation succeeded and failed because of it. Now that Qin Hu faced the strong Xiao Chen, he could no longer care about anything else. He prepared to use the Sky Dome Dragon Formation to kill Xiao Chen. The expressions of Bai Yu and the old man wearing the black tortoise battle armor sank. They obeyed the orders and flew out of the hall at the same time. Although Qin Hu was in pain and in a sorry state, his life was not in danger, so the two were not worried. "Xiao Chen, you are dead for sure. You are dead for sure. No matter how you humiliate me now, once the Sky Dome Dragon Formation is activated, you will not survive," Qin Hu said hatefully as he looked at Xiao Chen through clenched teeth. "Whether I die or not is not up to you." Xiao Chen prepared to leave this place. Once any formation was activated, being trapped inside would be problematic. The formation could not be activated forever. As long as these three old men remained in the Sky Dome Palace, Xiao Chen had plenty of ways to deal with them and force them to release old Yun. As long as old Yun was safe, Xiao Chen did not care. He could not be bothered with the people of the three holy masters' holy lands. Xiao Chen stomped down heavily, but he did not draw his sword. Instead, he kicked Qin Hu's chest, nearly knocking him unconscious from the pain. Xiao Chen casually kicked this person away. Then, his figure flashed and he appeared outside the hall. Suddenly, he discovered that something was wrong. Heavy clouds churned in the sky. The sky looked like it was going to collapse. Xiao Chen felt like he could touch the clouds if he stretched out his hand. Killing chi spread everywhere, giving off a sense of pressure like a storm was coming. "The formation is activated already?" Xiao Chen muttered as he landed on the roof of the hall. "It looks like they planned to plot against me from the moment I entered the Sky Dome Palace. This is somewhat problematic. If I want to go out, I will need some time. That's fine. Let's see if there is anything about this Sky Dome Dragon formation. In the future, when I face similar formations, I will not have to feel uncertain. I have finally seen it for myself." Soon, Xiao Chen recovered his mental state, calming his body and mind. "Kill." The word "kill" resounded in the sky. It was ear-splitting and struck at the mind, making one's soul tremble. A dragon roar resounded, and suddenly, a dragon head peeked out from the dark clouds in the sky. It glared and opened its jaws, launching itself at Xiao Chen. With a gentle flash, Xiao Chen dodged this attack. The dragon head retracted, and an unfathomable dragon claw swiped at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen turned around and gently pushed his scabbard forward, blocking the dragon claw. There was a loud sound, and Xiao Chen felt his arm go numb. He thought to himself, "This force is very strong. It is no weaker than the third heaven Emperor Wu's." The ferocious dragon in the sky was hidden in the thick clouds. The dragon's head and tail could not be seen. The attacks that it sent out were unfathomable. Furthermore, the dragon moved very quickly, entangling Xiao Chen in an instant. It looked like Xiao Chen was in danger. "Old brother Qin, you can let Bai Yu make a move now, right?" The white-haired old man from the Holy Lord's faction, who was hidden in the dark, asked when he felt that the time was right. The purple-faced Qin who had already rushed over long ago. He nodded and said, "He is already entangled by the Sky Dome Dragon soul. It is time to make a move." How stubborn. This time, I will show him the consequences of offending the three holy masters. Whoosh, whoosh. The formations covering the entire Sky Dome Palace suddenly flickered. Thousands of beams of light soared into the sky. The spiritual energy of the world quickly gathered. Each beam of light hit a person. When the beams of light stopped, they gathered into a huge dragon on the ground. Every part of the huge dragon was connected to the buildings of the Sky Dome Palace. It looked like the entire Sky Dome Palace turned into a huge dragon that came to life. Standing on the dragon's head was the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord's faction, Bai Yu. Bai Yu looked coldly at Xiao Chen, who was entangled with the ferocious dragon in the sky. Bushan Palace disciples, heed my orders. Sky Dome Dragon formation, 2 dragons merge. Immediately, the 2 ferocious dragons in the sky and on the ground opened their jaws at the same time and bit down. They sealed off the surroundings, cutting off Xiao Chen's path, preventing him from dodging. Since he could not dodge, he could only enter the dragon's jaws. Xiao Chen quickly made his choice. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he entered the ferocious dragon's jaws, entering a mysterious pitch-black place. Good. He entered, Qin Hu and the white-haired old man said loudly, rejoicing at the same time. On the dragon's head, Bai Yu said coldly with a solemn expression, "Heed my command. Sky Dome Dragon soars, coiling dragon chop." Yes. The 1,003 Holy Masters cultivators stood on various parts of the dragon's body and answered in unison, their auras shaking the sky. Immediately, the Sky Dome Dragon on the ground coiled up, assuming the posture of flying into the sky. The entire Sky Dome Palace moved with it. The ground for 500 kilometers around rumbled and trembled endlessly. As for Xiao Chen, he felt the space around him twist continuously in that dark space. He could not walk straight. He could only spin upward, running continuously. However, no matter how he ran, he felt like he was spinning at the same spot. Chop! Bai Yu shouted coldly and ferociously, stabbed the weapon in his hand into the dragon's mouth. Ka! 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 The 1,000 people stabbed their weapons into the huge dragon's body at the same time. Bang! In the darkness, Xiao Chen, who was already feeling extremely uncomfortable, saw many huge weapons descending from all directions, all pointing at him. Xiao Chen could not dodge at all. Immediately, he was covered in wounds. His 5 senses turned chaotic in this space, and his sense of direction became distorted. There was simply no way to dodge. Bai Yu shouted coldly again, and the coiled-up Sky Dome Dragon suddenly unfurled its body. The 1,000 swords were drawn at the same time, all of them dripping with blood. Immediately, blood spurted out from various parts of the huge dragon's body, scattering everywhere. It looked exceptionally horrifying. Ha ha! I allowed you to be arrogant, not because I feared you. This old man could have dealt with you long ago. Qin Hu showed a sinister expression as he looked at the blood in the sky, going berserk with excitement. Chapter 1302. The white-haired old man at the side found this somewhat strange. This formation was used to deal with the demons. Now it was being used on him. Furthermore, the irony was that it could not deal any damage to the demons. However, it was very tyrannical when dealing with its own people. Whoosh! A hole appeared in the dark space, and beams of light shot in, blinding Xiao Chen into squinting. "Hey Xiao Chen, are you alright? Do you think I'm alright? The 1,000 swords are all stuck in my body. What should we do?" "Let me help you," Ao Jiao said worriedly. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "They did not injure my heart of an emperor. To me, they are just superficial wounds. There is no need to worry. I have indeed underestimated this Sky Dome Dragon formation. I heard that this is just the simplified version. The Great Sky Dome Dragon formation can appear in the sky and on the ground at the same time. Look at the situation, and you are still in the mood to comment on this Sky Dome Dragon formation. Think of a way to break it. It's fine. One more time, and I will roughly know what's going on with this Sky Dome Dragon formation. What? You want to experience the feeling of 1,000 swords piercing your body again? When Bai Yu saw the blood drifting in the air, he revealed an expression of joy. Even if Shao Chun had the heart of an emperor, injuring him like this 10 or so times would weaken him, forcing him to obediently accept punishment. Again, Bai Yu shouted coldly, filled with pride. The 1,000 people obeyed, and the entire Sky Dome Palace shook intensely again. The Sky Dome Dragon coiled up again. Outside the Sky Dome Palace, 3 pale-faced demonic world blood demon cultivators walked out from the darkness, startled by the intense mysterious phenomenon. The person in the middle looked delicate with purple patterns carved on his forehead. He was an outstanding royal talent of the blood demon bloodline. The servant on the right revealed an expression of joy as he said respectfully, "Indeed, even the heavens are helping young Master Shui. We wanted to save that Yao Manlan and waited here for a few days because we feared this Sky Dome Dragon formation. Now they are in disarray." However, young Master Shui's complexion paled. "Even I am not confident of breaking this Sky Dome Dragon formation. Who is so capable that the Sky Dome Palace has to use this formation to suppress it?" The Sky Dome formation was expected to be problematic. However, it was not scary. What Shao Chun feared were the unexpected changes. Hu Qi! With another loud roar, the azure dragon unfurled itself, and fresh blood sprayed into the air once more. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The cultivators on every part of the dragon shouted in unison. Their roars were like thunder, shaking the surroundings. The might of the azure dragon was on full display. Even the previously powerful Shao Chun could not do anything now. He could only let them torture him again and again. "Good, good, good. Shao Chun, I'll let you suffer as many times as you kick me." Qin Hu felt extremely delighted and couldn't help but shout out loudly. When his voice entered into Shao Chun's ears, it caused him to laugh coldly without end. After enduring 2 attacks, Shao Chun had a rough idea of the current environment and came up with the corresponding countermeasures. However, with the Sky Dome Dragon entrenched, the spatial laws of the entire Sky Dome Palace had already changed. Shao Chun's space had already been compressed to a point. No matter how he moved, he could not leave this point. Furthermore, no matter which direction the 1,000 swords attacked from, they would all strike Shao Chun at this point. Since that was the case, there was no need for Shao Chun to run around like before. All he needed to do was guard this point. If it were a regular Emperor Wu, even if he could figure this out so quickly, he would not be able to do anything. This was because they could not dodge the attacks of the 1,000 swords within a small space. They could only be tortured to death. However, Shao Chun was different. After comprehending the fish dragon art, he was most skilled at dodging within a small space. "Continue attacking. I want to hear him beg for mercy in pain." Qin Hu instructed Bai Yu loudly with a ferocious expression. Bai Yu, who was on the Dragon Head Mountain, pointed with his sword, and the Sky Dome Dragon entrenched itself once more. Then, he stabbed his sword into it. The other disciples followed his lead and did the same. However, this time they were destined to be disappointed. 100 transformations of dragon and fish dodge. Shao Chun's body swayed like an immortal fish swinging its tail within a small space. After images flickered, the seemingly casual swaying allowed Shao Chun to dodge at the most dangerous moment. In one breath, the sound reverberated 1,000 times. Without exception, all the swords dodged. When the other party was about to pull out their swords, Shao Chun's body suddenly moved. Flickering light passing shadows, he moved 1,000 times in one breath. Ka-sie, ka-sie. The instant the Sky Dome Dragon unfurled, The cultivators standing on every part of the dragon all drew out a broken sword. "What's going on? Why did my sword break?" All of them found this inconceivable, showing incredibly shocked expressions. Even Bai Yu, who was on the dragon head, did not know what was going on. The smile on Qin Hu's face froze. He felt that something was wrong. Whoosh! 1,000 broken sword shards flew out of the hole. Each shard contained a strong saber intent as they shot out from the sky dome dragon. Miserable shrieks rang out. Caught off guard, the 1,000 cultivators each suffered a wound on their bodies as they fell. Blood dyed the sky red. However, this time, it was not Xiao Chen's blood that fell. The sky dome dragon lost the cultivators' control. Xiao Chen clearly felt that the previously tight and flawless space had become much weaker. Clash of the Two Moons. Xiao Chen sent out 2 palm strikes, executing the 1,000-year flame and 1,000-year death at the same time. The blood moon and the bright moon clashed, erupting with a huge destructive force. Rumble! The sky dome dragon, which wanted to soar into the air, crashed to the ground as if it suffered a severe injury. A large hole blasted open on the dragon's body. All sorts of bricks and tiles flew everywhere. Xiao Chen leaped out of the hole. When he got a clear look, he discovered that he had destroyed a building of the Sky Dome Palace. What a profound formation! To think that it can use all the buildings in such an ingenious manner. The sincere praise that came from Xiao Chen's mouth sounded humiliating to the cultivators below. Even such a profound formation could not trap Xiao Chen to death. In that case, they were even worse than trash. Bai Yu was still on the dragon's head. His face sank as he shouted, "All disciples, return to your positions. Sky Dome Dragon Formation, Double Dragon Tail Whip." Yes, the many injured cultivators felt dissatisfied in their hearts. However, Bai Yu's shout rekindled their fighting spirit. Thousands of pillars of light soared into the sky and leaped onto the dragon's body again. The hidden sky dome dragon in the clouds in the sky was the first to charge over. Its dragon tail swept out unpredictably. The force was so great that it shook the surroundings, causing buzzing sounds. Space was like an old building, letting out a mournful cry. Xiao Chen, who had been preparing to leave and not continue fighting, looked at the dragon tails flying over from both sides. With a thought, Xiao Chen made a new plan. While he was in the dragon's stomach, he had already thought about it. This sky dome dragon formation was somewhat strange. He did not know how many tricks it had. There was no need for Xiao Chen to compete with this formation alone. Even if he won, he would be at too much of a disadvantage. As long as Xiao Chen managed to leave, he could think of thousands of ways to force Qin Hu and the others to submit. There was no need for him to fight to the death here and suffer. However, when Xiao Chen saw the 2 dragon tails, he thought of an idea. Use the enemy's strength to break the enemy's formation. If there were 3 sky dome dragons, Xiao Chen would not dare to do so. However, there were only 2. This gave him great confidence. 2 fiery lights flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and the Taiji force field instantly formed. This time, Xiao Chen split his 100 strands of primordial energy in half, making the Taiji force field unprecedentedly strong. "Fight!" Xiao Chen shouted and looked around. Then, he faced the dragon tail descending from the sky and slowly raised his right hand. Xiao Chen's movements looked astonishingly slow. However, it was this slow movement that allowed Xiao Chen's right hand to firmly grasp the dragon tail. Then, his body moved like a fish. As he moved, thousands upon thousands of overlapping afterimages appeared. Qin Hu exclaimed in shock, "How can this be? The force of this dragon tail can fling away the 3rd Heaven Emperor Wu." Yet, Xiao Chen managed to catch it. Furthermore, he is not injured at all. That's not right. He is deflecting the force. His movements look slow, but they are actually as steady as a mountain. Although the white-haired old man beside Xiao Chen could not figure out what was going on, he noticed something strange. Qin Hu smiled coldly and said, No matter how he deflects the force, when the second dragon tail sweeps over, he will definitely be injured under the pincer attack of the two tails. Whoosh! The afterimages merged. The calm and peaceful Xiao Chen did not make a sound as he grabbed the dragon tail and kicked ferociously. The clouds scattered and the sky shattered. Xiao Chen forcefully pulled down an old dragon from the sky. The dragon tail on the ground crashed into the old dragon that Xiao Chen pulled down. The collision of the two dragons was a horrifying scene that no one could have imagined, and just like that, it happened. The thousands of cultivators on the dragon's body on the ground were instantly blasted away. The two sky dome dragons each suffered heavy losses. Thousands of buildings on the ground collapsed. Using the enemy's strength to break the enemy's formation, Xiao Chen revealed a smile as he looked at the old dragon in the sky, rolling on the ground in pain. Then, he said in enlightenment, "I was wondering why it was so powerful. It turns out that it is a genuine, complete dragon soul. The capital required for the Sky Dome Dragon formation is really significant. Get into formation and kill him." Baiyu roared as he flipped over and got to his feet. Then, he glared at the fallen Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen shook his head and said indifferently, "The formation has lost most of its might. What else can you use to play with me?" Taiji burst. Xiao Chen casually waved his right hand, and the Taiji force field, which had already spread over the entire area, suddenly exploded. The originally peaceful Taiji force field that looked natural and harmonious burst forth with world-shaking destructive power. All the buildings on the ground were uprooted, turning into countless pieces. Dust spread out and smoke surged. The entire Sky Dome Palace was completely destroyed. All sorts of debris flew about in the air, covering the sky and sun. As for the cultivators charging at Xiao Chen, they were blasted into the air by Xiao Chen, scattering among the dust and wreckage that filled the air. Amid the chaotic and majestic scene, Xiao Chen walked towards Qin, who step by step. The explosion that sounded like the end of the world happened behind Xiao Chen like a violent storm. However, the white-robed Xiao Chen remained calm and peaceful, walking over elegantly in a calm and unruffled manner. The lunar shadow saber appeared out of nowhere. Naturally, Xiao Chen grabbed it and caught it. Xiao Chen happened to walk over to Qin Hu's side. Before the stunned Qin Hu could react, Xiao Chen casually kicked him into a kneeling position. Chapter 1303. The lunar shadow saber landed gently, pressing down on Qin Hu's shoulder like a mountain. No matter how hard he tried, he could not stand up. "Don't think that I cannot do anything to you just because you have this peak-grade battle armor protecting you. If I cannot kill you with 1,000 kicks, I will kick you 10,000 times. If 10,000 times is not enough, I will kick you 100,000 times. I do not believe that you will not die." Xiao Chen grasped the lunar shadow saber and pressed down heavily, causing Qin Hu to cry out in pain. Xiao Chen glanced around and saw another old man standing beside Qin Hu. He immediately knelt down and said, "Blue Dragon King, we had no choice but to deal with you. Please do not hold grudges against us. Please let us off this time." With the white-haired old man kneeling, the two's overbearing aura of wanting to take down Xiao Chen completely vanished. Qin Hu felt helpless. He begged, "Let us go, and we guarantee that we will not seek trouble for you in the future." Xiao Chen said, "You should rejoice that I will not seek trouble for you." "Yet, you still want to seek trouble for me?" "I already have a grudge with the 3 holy masters long ago. Whether I let you off or not, the 3 holy masters will not let me off. Tell me, what do I have to do for us to leave?" Now that the Sky Dome Dragon formation was broken and they were in Xiao Chen's hands again, Qin Hu and the white-haired old man no longer had any fighting spirit. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "I can let you go, but you have to leave behind the battle armor you are wearing. Dream on. This is the accumulations of a holy land. Each holy land only has 10 battle armors. If we give them all to you, wouldn't that mean that you have 3 sets? Don't think that way." The two were both startled and furious. They had not expected Xiao Chen's appetite to be so huge. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He said calmly, "You are mistaken. The weak do not have a choice. Either you take the initiative to remove the battle armor, or I will personally make a move. After I kill you, I will take it for myself. How do you choose? I will give you 10 breaths of time." In the face of Xiao Chen's forcefulness, the two of them felt somewhat helpless, not knowing how to deal with it. 10 breaths of time simply did not allow for too much time to think. The two of them had conflicted expressions on their faces, and in the end, they painfully agreed to Xiao Chen's request. After putting away the 2 sets of armor, Xiao Chen found Bai Yu in the rubble and successfully obtained the vermilion bird armor. 3 sets of P-quality king-grade secret treasures could be considered a great harvest. However, Xiao Chen did not intend to let the 3 off so easily. These 3 people had clearly come here with a premeditated plan. They were instigated by someone. Something must have happened in the Kunlun realm. Otherwise, the 3 holy masters wouldn't have been so bold as to pick a fight with him so blatantly. However, just as he was about to ask, Xiao Chen sensed 3 auras approaching from off in the distance. Raising his head, he saw 3 pale-faced men dressed in blood-red clothes rushing over from the dust in the distance. Of the 3, the one in the middle gave Xiao Chen the feeling that he was the most dangerous. When this person got closer and saw the purple mark on his forehead, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. The demonic world's royal clan is here for the Sky Dome Heart again? Logically speaking, this was not the time to fall out with them yet. Since the sneak attack failed once, there would not be a second time. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, it must be you, right? I have heard of your great name in the demonic world. The royal blood demon in the middle looked at the surrounding rubble and continued, "Not bad. I have not even figured out how to break this sky dome dragon formation. To think that you broke it so easily." A demonic genius of the demonic world's royal clan. Qin Hu and the other 2 were startled. The bloodline of the 18 demon monarchs of the demonic world was famous for being strong. Now that the Sky Dome Dragon formation was gone, and their battle armor was snatched away, even protecting themselves would be a problem. Xiao Chen stepped forward and looked at this person. "Why are you here? Speak directly." The other party did not take the opportunity to make a move. It was probably not because of the Sky Dome Heart but something else. "This is our clan's young Master Shui. He is not here to snatch your Sky Dome Heart. Release Miss Manlon and we will leave," the person on young Master Shui's right said coldly with an arrogant attitude. Xiao Chen did not care about this young Master Shui or not. He said rudely, "Release her? You killed 1,000 martial sages of my Sky Dome Palace. You want to leave so easily? Impossible. You are seeking death." Young Master Shui waved his hand to stop the 2 servants at the side. He smiled and said, "Everything can be discussed. If you have any requests, just state them. As long as you are willing to let them go, anything can be discussed. Earlier, when those 3 people wanted to kill you, you only stated your conditions. Didn't that make things easier for you?" Xiao Chen retorted calmly, "Conditions? Sure. Give me a bottle of primordial pills, and I can pretend that I did not see you and let you go." When young Master Shui heard this, he became enraged. This Xiao Chen did not care about them at all. To think that he treated them like captives. "You are really reckless." Xiao Chen smiled, and his Taiji force field appeared. Then, his figure flashed. Xiao Chen, who was originally as quiet as a virgin, moved as fast as a dragon soaring into the sky, bringing with him an overwhelming aura. Fast. Dragons and fishes changed. A blue dragon soared into the sky, scattering the clouds. Without drawing his saber, Xiao Chen hacked down at young Master Shui. Whoosh! Young Master Shui was startled. What fast speed! The 2 servants at the side stepped forward and shielded him, trying to block Xiao Chen's saber strike. "Can you block it?" Xiao Chen smiled coldly and swung his saber. His momentum was heavy and unfathomable. In one breath, he executed hundreds of saber moves. The two blood demons' faces sank. They no longer showed any contempt on their faces. They used their full power to block. Bang! Bang! In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged 100 moves. The two felt their arms aching, finding it hard to block and unable to keep up with the rhythm. "I'll do it!" Young Master Xue narrowed his eyes and charged forward. The two servants heaved a sigh of relief and quickly moved aside. "Good timing!" Xiao Chun laughed loudly. His aura flourished as he pressed forward, forcing the three to retreat. Xiao Chen's figure flickered, leaving afterimages. Even though he fought 1 against 3, he held the upper hand, forcing the three to retreat step by step. The rhythm of the battle was too fast. In just a few breaths, they had already exchanged hundreds of moves. Young Master Xue and the other two used their full power, not holding back at all. However, they were still suppressed. Slow. Amid the fast rhythm, Xiao Chen suddenly slowed down. Within the Taiji force field, the movements of young Master Xue and the others seemed to slow as well. The three were caught off guard. Before they could understand what was going on, Xiao Chen pressed his saber forward heavily, sending them all flying. The two weaker servants vomited blood on the spot and rolled on the ground. Young Master Xue staggered back 100 steps before he stabilized himself. As he looked at Xiao Chen, deep fear appeared in his eyes. After young Master Xue activated the royal blood demon, his strength was terrifyingly strong. He did not fear Xiao Chen's primordial energy. However, the martial Dao techniques that Xiao Chen displayed earlier were unheard of. He could not keep up with the rhythm at all. As young Master Xue expected, he was easily toyed with by Xiao Chen. The problem was not scary. What was scary was this sudden accident. "What exactly is your strength?" Young Master Xue asked sullenly. Xiao Chen replied indifferently, "Under Emperor Wu, I am unrivaled." "Unrivaled?" Young Master Xue snorted coldly. "You are a frog in a well. Don't think that just because you obtained some ancient martial Dao you can boast like that. Use your secret technique." "Yes." The two servants nodded. Then, the bodies of young Master Xue's group of 3 suddenly turned into bats filling the air. Thousands of bats gathered together, and young Master Xue appeared before Xiao Chen again. This time, his aura was more than twice as strong. A trace of Emperor's might spread out from his body. Xiao Chen frowned and said, "Emperor's might? In the demonic world, 3 people can merge and multiply the strength of the main body. To think that there is such a secret technique. I said all the nice things, but you did not let them go, forcing me to use the forbidden technique. You asked for it." Young Master Xue shouted coldly and punched back at Xiao Chen. When he punched, a scarlet light surged into the sky. It was as if the punch had come from a sea of blood. A vast sea of blood appeared before Xiao Chen, vast and boundless. Young Master Xue rode on the waves, and thousands of layers of blood waves soared into the sky behind him. When he punched, the sea of blood instantly spread out. A vast pressure surged out along with the sea of blood. Xiao Chen looked insignificant among the huge waves. None of these royal clan demonic geniuses can be underestimated. Xiao Chen shook his head slightly. He circulated all his primordial energy and split it in half. Emperor's might immediately spread out in the Taiji force field. Xiao Chen completely unleashed the aura of a king. His figure wavered as he swung his scabbard to receive this punch. Hu-chi! The force of the punch was too great. Xiao Chen's body spun along with the Taiji force field, slowly neutralizing the force. Young Master Xue's aura was overwhelming. After he punched, he launched an earth-shattering attack, raining down like a torrential storm. Xiao Chen fought fast with slow speed. He was like a small boat on the vast sea. As his figure moved, he left behind many afterimages. To the outside, the space where the two were was spinning. The scenery was like flickering light and shadows, flickering continuously. It was chaotic, and there was no way to see clearly. The impenetrable defense made the strong young Master Xue very anxious. He had no choice but to increase his speed. After another 1,000 moves, Xiao Qin clearly noticed that young Master Xue had slowed down. Clearly, he could not keep up the momentum and was trying to pull back. Fast. Xiao Qin grasped this opportunity and instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. All the light within 1 kilometer vanished. The instant he drew the saber, Xiao Qin and the saber in his hand entered darkness at the same time. It was not that Xiao Qin entered darkness. Instead, his light was too strong, chasing away all the light within 1 kilometer. This saber was called Eternal Light. Young Master Xue, who had just thought of retreating, had no time to dodge. The saber struck him. The scarlet light vanished, and the bats filling the air flew around in a fluster. Bang! The bats reformed, and young Master Xue fell to the ground while vomiting blood. Young Master Xue looked at Xiao Qin, and his eyes revealed horror. Under Emperor Wu, Xiao Qin could be said to be unrivaled. These words were not exaggerated at all. Even the peak outstanding talents of the 18 royal clans of the demonic world might not be able to receive that final saber strike. That saber strike was too horrifying. It was so strong that young Master Xue could not understand it at all. There were traces of a very strong saber domain in it. However, young Master Xue had seen many experts who cultivated a saber domain in the demonic world. None of them were like Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's saber domain looked right but was actually wrong. It already surpassed the understanding of domains that ordinary people had. It was like he had entered a path that no one had taken before. Chapter 1304. Let's go. The three no longer dared to linger. They executed the Blood Race's secret technique, blood shadow evasion, turning into a long scarlet line as they fled into the distance. Xiao Qin did not give chase. He was not in a good situation either. Earlier, he had put in a lot of effort to break the Sky Dome Dragon formation. He had even suffered some injuries that he had not treated. After that, he fought with the merged young Master Xue. While it looked like an easy fight, in reality, his physical body had suffered a huge blow. If the young Master Xue had been able to hold on, Xiao Qin might not have been able to withstand the Taiji force field. This battle also allowed him to have a comprehensive and clear understanding of his own strength. Xiao Qin turned his head and glanced coldly at Qin Hu and the other two. Then, he instructed, "Release Old Yun and you may leave. However, leave behind the martial sage you brought." "Yes, yes, yes." Seeing that the young Master Xue, who could even release Emperor's might, lost to Xiao Qin, the three felt even more reverence for Xiao Qin. They did not dare to disobey his orders. After Xiao Qin left, the three showed bitter expressions, feeling extremely conflicted. Bai Yu sighed and said, "What should we do? The Holy Lord gave us a mission. Not only did we fail to complete it, but we even lost the battle armor." Qin Hu felt a bellyful of anger. He snorted coldly and said, "What else can we do? This old man was not willing to take this mission in the first place. Whoever can do it can do it." Right. Back then, we all knew that the Blue Dragon King was ridiculously strong. The Sky Dome realm did not allow Emperor Wu to come down. No one was willing to do it, so they pushed us out. Clearly, they wanted to test out Xiao Qin's strength. Qin Hu glanced at Xiao Qin's back and said indifferently, "We should not worry about this. When we reach the Kunlun realm, someone will naturally come and deal with him. Now, pretend to be a coward and help deal with the aftermath. Once we are done, we will quickly leave this damned place. This old man is not willing to stay here any longer." Half a day later, the aftermath was more or less cleaned up. Xiao Qin met Old Yun in a simple courtyard. Many thanks to the Blue Dragon King for his righteous actions. Otherwise, who knows how long this old man would have been locked up. Old Yun thanked Xiao Qin as he knelt down. Xiao Qin quickly stood up and helped Elder Yun up. "Elder Yun, you're too kind. I wanted to thank you for giving me the map. What's more, you didn't listen to them and framed me this time. That's why you ended up like this. I should be the one thanking you." After some thought, Xiao Chen took out the last longevity fruit and said, "Take this longevity fruit as my token of appreciation." Senior Yun quickly rejected. "I have already consumed this longevity fruit once. It is not very meaningful." "Blue Dragon King, keep it for yourself." Xiao Chen now understood. The longevity tree was in this sky dome immortal realm. How could the other party not have consumed it before? "How about this? I'll give you a Saint Tier pill. As long as it's not a fatal injury, you'll be able to recover quickly." There were only 10 sage-grade medicinal pills among the treasures left behind by the Thunder King. However, Old Yun had been kind to Xiao Chen, so there was nothing to be reluctant about giving him one. Seeing Old Yun's embarrassment, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I have a half-step golden body. This sage-grade medicinal pill is not very useful to me. Just accept it." Only then did Old Yun reluctantly accept it and thank Xiao Chen. The two started chatting about the current situation. Qin Hu and Bai Yu had already left, but they did not bring the 1,000 martial sages with them. In the future, as long as they repaired the buildings of the Sky Dome Palace, they could still execute the Sky Dome Dragon formation. The Sky Dome Palace still had the ability to protect itself. However, that Yao Manlan was a source of trouble. No one could interrogate her while she was in prison. No one dared to look at her eyes. Even when she was blindfolded, her voice could still mesmerize others. She was like an enchantress. Furthermore, this time, young Master Xue came to save her. Clearly, she held a significant position in the demonic world or had a major character protecting her. They could not interrogate her or kill her. Furthermore, she could summon a strong enemy. This was a huge problem for the Sky Dome Palace. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he said, "In that case, hand her to me. I want to see which demon race in this Sky Dome realm dares to ask for her from me." Old Yun revealed a joyful expression. "That would be great. There is really no way to deal with this enchantress. She is giving me a headache." Xiao Chen left behind a message talisman. "While I'm in the Sky Dome realm, if Old Yun has any trouble, you can use the message talisman to look for me. Bring me to the prison, then." Inside the prison, Xiao Chen saw Yao Manlan, whose arms and ankles were shackled. However, her sorry state did not diminish her charm, making her look pitiful. Instead, it made one love her even more. "Blue Dragon King, be careful when you go in." Several people fell for this enchantress's trick. The one leading Xiao Chen was a woman. No man in the entire prison dared to face this woman. When Yao Manlan saw Xiao Chen arrive, she showed a somewhat excited expression. She stood up and wanted to pounce over, the swaying chains giving off dang-dang sounds. As Yao Manlan wished, Xiao Chen sent out a few strands of saber qi and broke the chains binding her. However, his figure flashed slightly. Plop! Yao Manlan, who had used too much force, fell to the ground. Yao Manlan cried out in pain and prostrated herself on the ground. She was somewhat stunned that her chains were gone. This only made her even more horrified. She took a few steps back and looked at Xiao Chen. "What are you trying to do?" Before she came to the Sky Dome realm, men were just playthings in her eyes. Even those outstanding talents of the demonic world were just more interesting playthings. However, after seeing Xiao Chen, this man became her nightmare. She had never been so afraid of a person before. At this moment, Yao Manlan's clothes were messy, and her hair was disheveled. She looked like a weak woman, flustered and afraid. Interesting. If someone who did not understand what was going on saw this scene, they would think that he was bullying her. Interesting. "Tell me, what do you think you want me for?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Yao Manlan continued to retreat until she reached the wall. When she had nowhere else to go, she said, "You can't touch me. Otherwise, once we leave the Sky Dome realm, no one will be able to save you." Yao Manlan really thinks that I want to touch her. Xiao Chen could not help laughing hoarsely. Due to his past experiences, Xiao Chun had a favorable impression of Eros demons. Of the demons, he was the least willing to kill Eros demons. However, this Yao Manlon had the appearance of an angel but the heart of a snake. No one liked her. Stand up and speak. Let me ask you, do you know of an Eros demon called Ling Yu? Xiao Chun asked. Ling Yu? The moment Xiao Chun said that, Yao Manlon's heart trembled. Her expression changed drastically. Then, she looked at Xiao Chun and said, I don't know her. I've never heard of her before. Eros demons had always been good at hiding themselves. However, when Yao Manlon heard Ling Yu's name, her expression changed drastically. Could this Ling Yu really be a major character? Never mind. No matter how major a character is, it has nothing to do with me. Perhaps she has already forgotten about me. Perhaps the other party had already forgotten about the past. How could he engrave it in his heart like he did? If you don't know her, then forget it. Put away that act of yours and leave this place with me. Yao Manlon did not dare to imagine what would happen if Xiao Chun said that indifferently and walked forward. Yao Manlon originally thought that with her abnormal expression, the other party would continue to question her. Who knew, she would get past it so easily. Could this fellow have something going on with Master? You're just standing there and not leaving? Do you still want to put on the chains and continue staying here? Xiao Chun asked when he saw that the other party was not moving. Yao Manlon reacted and asked, What exactly do you want to do? This place cannot hold you. I'll bring you to Qingyun Peak. I'll watch over you personally. Never mind, I'll do it myself. Seeing that the other party seemed to be somewhat foolish, Xiao Chun could not be bothered to waste time, so he restrained her. After leaving, he tossed her into the Flood Dragon war chariot and flew towards Qingyun Peak. However, what Xiao Chun did not know was that the moment he left, a figure hiding in the darkness of the Sky Dome Palace discovered him. This is troublesome. The Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, is personally watching over you. I have to go back and report to the Demon Monarch Ling Yu. After bringing Yao Manlon back to Qingyun Peak, Xiao Chun personally interrogated her. However, the other party refused to say anything. In the first place, Xiao Chun was not good at interrogating people. Furthermore, he was mindful of the Eros demon Ling Yu's kindness to him in the past, so he did not want to use any excessive methods on Yao Manlon. If Yao Manlon did not want to say anything, then so be it. It would be fine as long as she did not cause trouble for him. Xiao Chun arranged a wooden hut for Yao Manlon in Qingyun Peak and did not send anyone to watch over her. He only got the female disciples to send her some food regularly. He did not fear Yao Manlon running away. As long as she was 1 kilometer away from Qingyun Peak, Xiao Chun would be able to catch up in an instant. In his free time, Xiao Chun spent most of his time in the desolate back mountains, cultivating the major magic skill, Dermic World. Dermic World required a Dermic World before one could stand firm in the world. A Dermic World required one to use magic energy to condense a Dermic World in the sea of consciousness, reflecting one's heart. At the same time, one had to absorb the light of the sun and the moon, condensing one's soul in it. It was extremely complicated. In the information that the Mahasvara Buddha gave me, it said that everyone's Dermic World is hidden in the depths of one's heart. It is a projection of one's heart. I wonder what my Dermic World will look like? At the summit of the desolate mountain, Xiao Chun sat cross-legged on the ground. Then, he closed his eyes and entered into bitter cultivation. When the sun rose, sunlight shone on Xiao Chun's body, dyeing him golden. It felt warm and very comfortable. Xiao Chun circulated his mental energy to condense a Dermic World, slowly absorbing the radiance of the sun into his sea of consciousness. The sun set and the moon rose. The blazing golden light on Xiao Chun's body vanished, turning into tranquil and peaceful moonlight. Then, he absorbed it into his sea of consciousness as well. This cycle continued for 15 days. After a total of 1 month, A miraculous scene of the sun and moon shining together appeared in the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. At the intersection of sunlight and moonlight, yin and yang merged, and a golden lotus was born. Of course, the golden lotus was not Xiao Chen's dermic world. However, if he used the Buddhist sex method to condense a dermic world, the dermic world would be born from the golden lotus. If he used the Taoist sex method, the dermic world would be born from a purple lotus. Different paths led to the same destination. The tiny golden lotus had just sprouted and urgently needed magic energy to nourish it. Xiao Chen was not stingy, slowly gathering his magic energy. He could clearly feel the joy and satisfaction of the golden lotus. Sun and moon shining together, the golden lotus sprouted. The nourishment of magic energy required care and persistence. One could not be too hasty and let the golden lotus grow wildly. Nor could it be too slow, or it would starve the golden lotus to death. Condensing a dermic world required patience. Although it was complicated, as long as no one disturbed it, it would succeed. The golden lotus bud grew stronger and stronger as layers of lotus leaves covered it. When the flower bloomed, Xiao Chen's dermic world would appear. From then on, it would reside in the depths of his sea of consciousness, guarding it like a deity. Days passed. Xiao Chen's magic energy was about to run out. The golden lotus radiance was already extremely resplendent. Chapter 1305. Behind it, there was a Buddhist light that was faintly discernible. Buddhist chants turned into auspicious Buddhist lights that supported the lotus. That was Mahasvara Buddha's blessing for Xiao Chen. It would ensure that nothing could go wrong in the process of condensing his Dharma idol. Xiao. Suddenly, all the light in the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness gathered on the golden lotus. All sorts of resplendent lights were withdrawn into the lotus. All sorts of Buddhist chants and Buddhist lights dissipated, leaving only the plain golden lotus. He's here. Xiao Chen thought in his heart, feeling both anticipation and anxiety. The golden lotus had bloomed. Soon, he would know what his dermic incarnation looked like. 1 petal, 2 petal, 3 petal. The petals of the golden lotus slowly opened. As each petal opened, a faint golden light shot out in all directions. All sorts of afterglow danced in the air like ribbons. When the golden lotus completely bloomed, a pillar of light shot up into the sky. Within the light, there was a green-robed man bathed in golden light like a deity. His appearance was dignified without being angry, and there was a frightening hostility between his brows. His eyes were filled with killing intent, causing others to tremble. His appearance was somewhat similar to Xiao Chen's, but whether it was in terms of temperament or the look in his eyes, there was absolutely no way to associate him with Xiao Chen. Dharma, is this my Dharma? What a dense killing intent. Even I can't believe it. Xiao Chen was secretly astonished. The Dharma idol was a projection of the depths of his heart. It turned out that in his heart, his evil tendencies were so strong. Something wasn't right. Logically speaking, his hostility shouldn't be so strong. Forget it, now was not the time to be concerned about this. The Dharma had already been formed. The next step was to merge the body with the Dharma and stand between heaven and earth. After his magic power had recovered, Xiao Chen opened his eyes, got up and quickly circulated the mental cultivation method of the Dharma idol great magic power. Xiao Chen's body shook slightly, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. With a loud bang, his body inflated like a balloon, and in the next moment, he turned into a 1,000-meter-tall giant. Lunar Shadow Saber. With a thought, the Lunar Shadow Saber appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. It was different from what he expected. The Lunar Shadow Saber also grew larger. What was a divine ability? It was something that surpassed one's imagination and was inconceivable. This was the difference between a divine ability and a magical technique. What a human could do was called a technique, and what a human could not do was called a supernatural power. However, He did not have the time to carefully experience the great power brought about by this dermic world, as well as that extraordinary feeling. A second later, Xiao Chen's body shrank back with a whoosh. Interesting, this is too interesting. It's completely unbelievable. After his body returned to normal, Xiao Chen's heart was still thumping non-stop. This was the feeling brought about by the great divine power. It was truly beyond imagination, inconceivable, and refreshing. Xiao Chen's eyes revealed a look of anticipation. At that moment, I felt that even if it was Emperor Wu, I would be able to kill him with a single slap. And this is just the beginning. In the future, after the first, second, and third transitions, I wonder how powerful it will be. Unfortunately, the only drawback was that it consumed too much magic power. His magic power could only last for a second. Such a short period of time was meaningless in a real battle. I have to undergo the lightning tribulation quickly and cultivate the purple thunder divine incantation to the 8th layer. I need to expand my sea of consciousness and cultivate even more magic energy. The strength of the great divine power made Xiao Chen realize the might of magic skills and the importance of magic energy. In the past, Xiao Chen had not paid enough attention to magic energy. His law energy and primordial energy had been tempered and condensed several times. A strand of law energy could double or even triple the might of an opponent. However, Xiao Chen had never tempered or condensed his magic energy before. He had to pay more attention to this in the future. At this moment it was already late. However, Xiao Chen could not hide the excitement in his heart. He was currently thinking about where to undergo the lightning tribulation. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion would definitely not do. It would cause too big of a commotion. Who knew what kind of waves it would cause? After thinking about it, there were only two suitable places. One was the deep sea, and the other was the sky dome Immortal realm. As for the specifics, Xiao Chen had not made up his mind yet. There was still something important that he needed to do. He had to let that Eros demon sleep well for a while. At the very least, he could not let her wake up before he returned. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he arrived at Yao Manlan's courtyard on Qingyun Peak. When Yao Manlan, who was sighing in the courtyard, saw Xiao Chen suddenly appear, she was startled. Aside from interrogating her at the start, this fellow did not ask about her at all for the next 2 months. It was like he had forgotten about her. However, when Yao Manlan thought about Xiao Chen's methods, she did not dare to run. She spent her days feeling nervous and conflicted. Every day felt like a year, filled with grief. After not seeing you for 2 months, your complexion looks so much worse. Did you not eat anything? Xiao Chen asked casually. Yao Manlan retorted hatefully, "Cut the hypocrisy. What exactly do you want? Either release me or kill me. Give me a quick death. Don't torture me like this." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and smiled. "When I leave the Sky Dome realm, I will naturally release you." "Really?" Wild joy welled up in Yao Manlan's heart, and she started to fantasize naively. Xiao Chen walked to the stone table and sat down. Then, he poured himself a cup of tea. "Of course, I'm serious. You are not willing to say anything when I ask you. Keeping you around will just be a disaster. Of course, I have to let you go." However, before Yao Manlan could savor the joy on her face, Xiao Chen's next sentence completely shattered it. "Of course, the prerequisite is that I cripple your cultivation and shatter your meridians." After being fooled, Yao Manlan cursed, "You demon! You scoundrel! There is no one more despicable than you in the world." Xiao Chen picked up his teacup and took a sip. Then, he said slowly, "You have to pay a corresponding price for what you do. You should understand this principle. Unfortunately, you do not. Compared to a certain Eros demon that I know, you are far inferior." Yao Manlan's heart skipped a beat. A certain Eros demon was her master? That was impossible. Her master was a demon monarch. Of the 18 thrones of the deep abyss demonic world, one of them belonged to her. How could she have any dealings with her? It has been more than 10 years since we last met. The past is like the clouds in the sky. Originally, I thought that it had already gone with the wind. Unexpectedly, young Master Xiao still remembers this servant. The sudden voice made Yao Manlan feel both happy and shocked. She was happy that she was finally saved. She was startled that her master immediately appeared and slapped her in the face when she said that it was impossible in her heart. Xiao Chen turned his head back and saw the Eros demon Ling Yu in the air, dressed in azure-colored clothes. Just like before, Ling Yu was still unique. The natural charm of an Eros demon could not be seen on her face at all. Ling Yu was just like when he first met her, as pure as a lotus flower. However, such a person was the only woman who could successfully charm him. Ling Yu had used her charm technique countless times in the deep sea, saving him from the brink of death. Master! Yao Manlan ran over in pleasant surprise and stood beside Ling Yu. However, she still felt somewhat nervous in her heart. Her master actually personally made a trip to the Sky Dome realm for her. Xiao Chen finished his tea and stood up to look at Ling Yu. He felt that he could not see through her at all. Back then, he already felt that this Eros demon was incredibly mysterious. Now that so many years had passed and his strength had increased significantly, he still could not see through her. Ling Yu seemed very strong and also very weak, unfathomable. There was only one explanation. Back then, Ling Yu's strength had decreased significantly because she was injured. Now, not only did she recover her strength, but she even grew stronger. However, none of this mattered. The other party still had not changed. He was not the only one who remembered the past. Why did Ling Yu remember it so clearly? It was because when she charmed someone, many imaginative scenes would appear. It seemed real and fake at the same time, making it hard to tell whether it was reality or an illusion. Furthermore, this period lasted for 1 year. The Sky Dome realm does not allow Emperor Wu to descend. You should know the rules. Are you going to break this rule for the sake of a disciple? Xiao Chen asked directly, not reminiscing about the past. Ling Yu smiled faintly and said, "Although great chaos is coming and there will always be people who break the rules, I do not dare to take this risk. It is just a clone. Sit." Xiao Chen extended his hand and invited Ling Yu to sit. Then, he poured her a cup of tea. Ling Yu picked up the teacup and thanked Xiao Chen softly. "I owed you too much back then. Although you said that we were even, I know that I still owe you a lot. If you are willing to let me take Manlan away today, I, the Demon Monarch Ling Yu, will owe you another favor." The Demon Monarch Ling Yu. What a great background! When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled bitterly and did not say anything. When Yao Manlan saw Xiao Chen like this, she could not help feeling angry. What kind of status did her master have? She said that she owed him another favor, yet he did not do anything. This was too much. Xiao Chen said calmly, "Is there a need to calculate things so clearly between us? Could it be that past experiences, in your eyes, are just one favor after another?" Ling Yu's heart skipped a beat. Then, she placed the teacup to her lip. Back then, Xiao Chen was young and arrogant, showing off his sharpness without any scruples. Although he was a man of few words, he dared to draw his saber with a thought for her, saying that he would help her kill. This gave Yao Manlan a sense of security that she, a demon monarch, had never felt before. The various things of the past were buried deep in her heart indelibly. When Yao Manlan recovered her strength and sat back on the demon monarch throne, she would occasionally think of that white-robed bladesman who was willing to stand up for her. Several times, Yao Manlan even doubted whether she was moved. However, so what if she was moved? It was impossible to be separated from a demon in the first place. Furthermore, she was a demon monarch, an aloof and powerful demon monarch. Later, Yao Manlan learned that the other party had gained great fame in the Kunlun realm, becoming the legend of the Blue Dragon King. Yao Manlan felt happy for him but also worried. If this continued, the two of them would end up on opposite sides sooner or later. It was better to forget about that white-robed youth who dared to pull her behind him and face a strong enemy alone. Now that Yao Manlan saw the other party again, and saw that he was so strong at such a young age, she knew that the two of them would become enemies sooner or later. Ling Yu recovered her expression very quickly. From the outside, no one could tell that anything was wrong. She drained the tea in one gulp, not leaving anything behind. Dong! The teacup landed on the table moderately. Enduring the pain in her heart, Ling Yu smiled and said, "If it is not a favor, then what does the Blue Dragon King think it is? Or do you think that this monarch's favor is not big enough? What other requests do you have? If you need primordial pills, I can give them to you as well. All you have to do is say the word." This smile was emotionless, like falling into an ice cave, chilling one's heart. The past was like the wind, scattered long ago. The final hope in Xiao Chen's heart shattered. Perhaps it would be better for an old friend to exist in his dreams. Chapter 1306. Ling Yu remained expressionless, his expression scarily cold. He drained the tea in his hand in one gulp and said indifferently, "Let's go. Demon Monarch Ling Yu, remember that you owe me, Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, a favor." Ling Yu could still smile when the other party was heartless. However, Xiao Chen could not smile no matter what. Is he leaving? However, Yao Manlan felt something strange. Why does the atmosphere seem somewhat off? Ling Yu's heart bled, but she still maintained a smile. She stood up and said, "Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen is indeed magnanimous. Now that I see you today, you truly live up to your reputation. This demon monarch will remember this favor." Whoosh! As Ling Yu carried Yao Manlan, she did not seem reluctant to leave at all. She left as soon as she said so, showing no intention of turning back. The last bit of hope in Xiao Chen's heart vanished. The teacup in his hand shattered with a loud bang. The shards stabbed into his palm, and blood slowly flowed out. It was a ghastly sight. Xiao Chen did not have many friends. Friends who had gone through life and death with him were even fewer. Since they were friends, he naturally did not care about the other party's identity. However, back then, when Xiao Chen said that they would meet again if fate willed it, how could he have expected that after they met again, it would be such a situation? Actually, given Xiao Chen's sharp eyes and meticulous thoughts, he should have been able to catch the change in Ling Yu's expression in that instant. However, Xiao Chen clearly understood why Ling Yu's heart fluttered. He just did not want to admit it. Although some things were hazy, they were very real, unforgettable. Far away, Ling Yu carried Yao Manlan through the void. She should have returned directly to the demonic world. However, she suddenly stopped and landed at the seaside. She could no longer keep up the pretense. She covered her face and squatted down in pain. "Master!" Yao Manlan felt a strange sourness in her heart. By now, she had already vaguely guessed what happened between her doting master and the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. However, how could an Eros demon fall in love? Furthermore, this was the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. Once he advanced to martial emperor, he would definitely clash with the demonic world. After a long time, Ling Yu stood up. There seemed to be traces of tears on her face. However, her expression had already recovered the dignity and indifference that a demon monarch should have. Feng Zi acted on his own this time, thinking that by obtaining the Sky Dome Heart, the winged demon monarch will view him in a different light. However, he didn't know that he had committed a great taboo. It would have been fine if he had gotten it, but who knew that he wouldn't have gotten it? Now, his father has already imprisoned him in the demon prison. When Yao Manlan heard this, she was startled, forgetting what she had just said. She cried out hoarsely, "Then what about the amber heart that he promised me?" Cold Rain did not say anything. A tricolored amber filled with alluring light appeared in her palm. "I got it from the demonic wind monarch. If it is yours, it will be yours." "Master, I was wrong." Yao Manlan lowered her head and said with tears in her eyes. Ling Yu whispered, "You are not wrong. You just met someone you should not have met." Who exactly is he? Yao Manlan plucked up her courage and asked. He is the person this emperor wants to meet the most in this life. He is also the person this emperor wants to see the most in this life. Wanting to see the most and wanting to see the most seemed contradictory, yet not contradictory at all. Suddenly, Ling Yu's expression changed. Then, she led Yao Manlan away and hid their auras in the seawater. A strong gust of wind blew behind him as a white figure flew over on the clouds. That figure landed and stood at the seaside, looking into the distance as if searching for something. Through the icy seawater, Ling Yu clearly saw that figure's appearance. It was Xiao Chen, who had chased after them from Qinyun Peak. Drip, drip. Blood continuously dripped from Xiao Chen's right hand. The wound on his palm looked horrifying. Ling Yu felt a pang in her heart. When she looked up, she saw Xiao Chen smiling bitterly. His lips moved as if he was saying something. I, Xiao Chen, have never misjudged a person. Was I really wrong this time? In the seawater, Ling Yu covered her mouth. She could not hold back her tears, letting them flow freely. As he looked at the seaside, Xiao Chen's thoughts fluctuated. Then, he revealed a self-mocking smile. He already guessed the result, yet he still foolishly came over, thinking that he could see the scene he anticipated. After a long time, Xiao Chen slowly calmed down. He muttered to himself, I'll just take it that I saw wrong. However, thank you for that 1 year. Goodbye. Xiao Chen gently pushed off with his feet and his figure flashed. In a few blinks of an eye, he vanished from where he was, heading for the depths of the sea. He wanted to undergo his tribulation, the purple thunder divine incantation's 8th layer. He wanted to forget this unhappiness, to completely forget it amid the 10,000 bolts of lightning. Splash! Water splashed up, and Ling Yu and Yao Manlan leaped out of the water. Ling Yu looked into the distance, not saying anything for a long time. Her gaze seemed to be able to see very far. She could see that Xiao Chen was really rushing towards the deep sea without even looking back. Based on his hurried figure, she could see that he was resolute and decisive, not showing any reluctance to leave. Master, he is really pretty good. Why didn't you come out? Yao Manlan asked softly. In all fairness, in Yao Manlan's opinion, the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen was indeed a very charming person. Ling Yu muttered, the better he is, the more we cannot meet. Great chaos is coming. You don't know this, but in this great calamity, only one of the demonic world or the Kunlun realm can survive. No one can avoid this fate. We will eventually meet on the battlefield. What is he going to do now? Is he going to give chase to the demonic world? Yao Manlan asked softly. Ling Yu felt worried in her heart. She shook her head and said, it doesn't seem like it. He cannot go to our demonic world's lair in the Sky Dome realm. Manlan, go back by yourself. I'll follow and take a look. Yao Manlan nodded gently. She knew that since her master made this decision, there was no way to dissuade her. Amid the strong winds, Xiao Chen stepped on the sea. There were countless desolate sea regions in the vast deep sea, too many to count. There were many places to take the tribulation. Xiao Chen did not hesitate and landed on one of the desolate islands. The island was desolate. Aside from rocks and tall mountains piled with rocks, there was nothing else. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 8th layer lightning tribulation should have happened 3 years ago. However, he delayed it until now to be safe. Now that he had a half-step golden body, condensed a heart of an emperor, and cultivated primordial energy, it would be easy for him to undergo the lightning tribulation from 3 years ago. It would be just like when he fought his opponent 3 years ago. He would be able to kill his opponent effortlessly. No matter how many lightning tribulations there were, Xiao Chen did not fear them. There was only the final heart tribulation, the heart demon tribulation. There were too many unknowns. During the previous lightning tribulation, Xiao Chen also fell to the final heart demon tribulation. He could not make it through, so he got Ao Jiao to help. Ao Jiao, don't make a move this time. Otherwise, even if I succeed in my tribulation, the heart demon will accompany me for life, Xiao Chen said seriously. Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, nodded. I know. I am too deeply involved with you. If I make a move this time, your heart demon will be even more severe. However, worry flashed in Ao Jiao's eyes. However, is this really the right time to undergo the tribulation? Of course, she did not fear the lightning tribulation. With Xiao Chen's half-step golden body, he should be able to endure the 8th layer of the lightning tribulation without any problems. However, the final heart tribulation was hard to say. In the Sky Dome realm, Xiao Chen had experienced 2 setbacks. The first was when Lu Ryue's fate was unknown and she left this abandoned land. The second was now. Xiao Chen had misjudged her, causing his heart to waver. Undergoing the tribulation now was not appropriate, simply not appropriate. Ao Jiao wanted to advise Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen had already made up his mind, so there was no point in saying anything more. Just as Ao Jiao was about to say something, she sighed and pulled back. Let's begin. Xiao Chen crushed an essence stone in his hand. Surging and pure spiritual energy surged towards the purple whirlpool in his dantian. Unlike before, Xiao Chen did not send the absorbed energy into his heart of an emperor. Instead, he let that whirlpool absorb the vast spiritual energy. Boom! The whirlpool, which had been suppressed for so long, did not last for long before exploding. It was so fast that it somewhat surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. It was clear that the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 7th layer could no longer hold on and needed to break through. It was like a barrel of gunpowder. With just a spark, it gave off a startling explosion. As the explosion rang out in Xiao Chen's body, the boundless thunderclouds within 500 kilometers of him gathered above his head like a vast army. Ling Yu, who was hidden in the distance, felt startled. Xiao Chen was undergoing a tribulation. However, this was not the great tribulation of wind and fire, but the lightning tribulation, which made her feel slightly more at ease. Even if he is undergoing a lightning tribulation, he should not have done it now, Ling Yu said with some resentment as she bit her lip. At the same time, she blamed herself. Had she known that Xiao Chen was undergoing a tribulation, she would not have been so heartless. What if he got injured in the lightning tribulation? Whether she was willing or not, the matter had already happened. The lightning tribulation had already begun. Boom! When the first bolt of lightning descended, Xiao Chen gladly endured it. Following that, a continuous barrage of lightning followed, not giving him any time to catch his breath. After 100 bolts of lightning, Xiao Chen used his primordial energy to erect a shield. Given Xiao Chen's experience, this was just an appetizer. The main course would come later. Previously it was 999 bolts of completely different divine lightning struck Xiao Chen until he wished for death, tormenting him half to death. His physical body nearly turned into mud. However, this time it was fine. Xiao Chen's strength had already undergone a drastic change. It was equivalent to having Emperor Wu's strength endure the blue-robed Emperor's lightning tribulation. As Xiao Chen expected, after 100 bolts of lightning, all sorts of divine lightning appeared. Some were like weapons, turning into sabers, spears, swords, staffs, and all sorts of lightning weapons, materializing all sorts of killing moves as they descended from the sky. Some turned into ferocious beasts, rearing their heads to the sky and roaring. Some gathered into all sorts of secret treasures, imitating all sorts of might, wanting to crush Xiao Chen. Some turned into mountains, looking majestic and majestic. Some stretched out endlessly, and some rose up strangely, wanting to suppress Xiao Chen. After withstanding more than 300 bolts of divine lightning, the shield shattered. Xiao Chen drew his lunar shadow saber and started to clash with the various divine lightning. He executed everything he learned to deal with the descending divine lightning. Although this was very startling and incredibly dangerous, it was very stable. Everything was within his control. Xiao Chun still had many trump cards that he had not used yet. The number of 9s passed long ago. It looks like my divine lightning this time should be 4 9s, a total of 9,999 bolt. Xiao Chun calculated in his heart. At the same time, he marveled at how powerful this purple thunder divine incantation was. If he were only as strong as the blue-robed emperor, he would definitely die trying to take this lightning tribulation. He would not be able to last until the heart tribulation arrived. Chapter 1307. The further he went, the more dangerous the lightning tribulations became. Xiao Chen was no longer in the mood to count how many lightning tribulations he had undergone. Amid the flashing lightning and roaring thunder, he was like a small boat full of misfortune, in danger of being destroyed at any moment. Xiao Chen had used up all his trump cards. Finally, he relied on the Taiji force field to hold on and clear all the lightning tribulations. The tribulation clouds in the sky scattered, and Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. His clothes were tattered, but his physical body was still intact. It was much better than the first time. The heart tribulation should be arriving soon. Xiao Chen became exceptionally cautious. Previously, he fell to the heart tribulation. He absolutely could not fall again this time. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, a hole opened in the sky, and intense light poured down, dazzling Xiao Chen's eyes. When he opened his eyes, he discovered that he was on Qingyun Peak. Lu Ryue was beside him. She smiled warmly and said, "You are finally willing to come back. Are you still leaving this time?" The familiar face, the familiar voice, and the gentle words. Even if one knew it was fake, one would not be willing to break this rare silence. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and held Lu Ryue's hands. He said, "I'm not leaving this time." "Good, then it's settled. You are not allowed to leave this time." Lu Ryue smiled faintly and held Xiao Chen's hands tightly. She could not bear to let go no matter what. The days passed like this on Qingyun Peak. Xiao Chen accompanied Lu Ryue as they wandered around the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, enjoying the peaceful and warm time. There were no conflicts, no pressure from the Blue Dragon King, no enemies on the path of cultivation. There was only happiness. The two would argue over trivial matters. They would be moved over trivial matters. They would cry, laugh, and even make a fuss. Even though Xiao Chen knew it was fake, he was still filled with reluctance. He wanted to leave several times. However, Lu Ryue's pitiful gaze defeated him, so he agreed to stay for 1 more month. The lightning tribulation was easy to clear, but the heart tribulation was difficult. Could Xiao Chen clear it this time? Month after month, Xiao Chen stayed in this heart demon world for 1 year. But no matter how long he stayed, he would have to leave one day. What was fake was fake. On this particular day, Xiao Chen felt like leaving. He hugged Lu Ryue and said, "Even if you are destined to leave, I should see you one last time and not watch you leave in Suifeng's memories." Tears appeared in the corners of Lu Ryue's eyes as she pushed Xiao Chen away. She looked at him and said, "Are you leaving? Promise me, stay with me for 1 more month, okay? Just 1 more month, just 1 more month, and I'll be satisfied." The corners of Xiao Chen's eyes were also brimming with tears. He said in a trembling voice, "All right, I promise you, but you have to close your eyes first. As long as you promise me, I will listen to everything you say." Lu Ryue immediately smiled and obediently closed her eyes. "Sorry." Holding back the tears in his eyes, Xiao Chen swung his saber and chopped off Lu Ryue's head. There were some things that, even if you knew it was fake, it was still difficult to do anything about it. Whoosh! The scene before Xiao Chen changed. Ao Jiao leaped out joyfully and said, "Congratulations, you finally cleared this heart tribulation." Xiao Chen forced out a smile. His heart was still immersed in the illusion, in that peaceful and happy atmosphere. That kind of beauty was something one could not bear to part with. This was the horror of a heart demon. Even if one knew it was fake, one would still treat the fake as the truth, forever unable to walk out. Fortunately, Shao Chen managed to walk out in the end. He wanted to feel the effects of the purple thunder divine incantation's 8th layer. Suddenly, Shao Chen frowned. He looked up and discovered a figure hidden in the clouds. "Who is it?" Shao Chen shouted and gave chase at lightning speed. The clouds parted, and he saw a clear figure. Shao Chen felt somewhat disappointed and frustrated. Then, he rejoiced, "Ling Yu. It's her. It's her. I did not see wrong. She did not go far. She has been following me." Executing the fish dragon arts movement technique, Shao Chen flew over at lightning speed, chasing after Ling Yu. This time, Shao Chen swore in his heart that he would not show a straight face on purpose. As a man, he should learn to understand and not act in a fit of pique. As Shao Chen gave chase, he focused all his attention on that pretty figure in front of him. What heart demon? What purple thunder divine incantation? He had already forgotten all about it. "Ling Yu, since you can't bear to part with me, why can't you meet me now?" Shao Chen shouted loudly when he saw the other party getting further and further away. The figure in front of Zhang Xian froze, as if something had triggered her, and her speed slowed down. Shao Chen took advantage of this opportunity and increased his speed. He leaped into the air and finally landed in front of Ling Yu, blocking her. Their eyes met. Shao Chen felt many emotions. After a long time, he said calmly, "Even if you are a demon monarch with overwhelming strength, if you are willing, I, Shao Chen, will always be your friend." Ling Yu shook her head and smiled. "It is not as simple as you think. There are too many things that you do not understand." Suddenly, Shao Chen grabbed Ling Yu's shoulders and said sullenly, "Look at me. I'll ask you one thing. Back then, did you see only one person? I just want you to tell me. Yes or no." Ling Yu showed a conflicted expression. Tears welled up in her eyes as she said, "Don't force me." Shao Chen smiled. He already knew the answer. Ling Yu had indeed been acting earlier. That smile was incredibly cruel, just to hide the struggle in her heart. She was not as heartless as Shao Chen thought. Letting go of Ling Yu, Shao Chen smiled and said, "I won't force you. I just need to know that you have not forgotten the past. That is enough." Ling Yu smiled and said, "How can I forget that past? If I really did, I would not be so reluctant to part with you. Don't move. Let me look at that past again. After that, I'll leave, all right?" Ling Yu begged. Shao Chen understood that Ling Yu wanted him to open his heart and search for that memory in the depths of his memories. "Sure, come in. I have never forgotten this part of the past." Shao Chen smiled faintly and let Ling Yu place her finger on his forehead. In the real world, on a calm sea, Ao Jiao circled around Shao Chen anxiously. 7 days had passed since the lightning tribulation, but Shao Chen still had not woken up. Shao Chen did not know what he had experienced in the heart demon world that completely entangled him. Ao Jiao felt sorrowful in her heart. If this continued, Shao Chen's heart would definitely be swallowed up by the heart demon. He would become a heartless body, never to wake up again. However, she could not help at all. Shao Chen could only rely on himself for such matters. Only an expert whose mental energy cultivation reached the level of the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign could interfere. Not to mention the fact that Emperor Forsaken would not come to help Shao Chen. Even if he did, 7 days had already passed. It might not be of any use. Up in the clouds, Ling Yu's expression turned grave. She had already cultivated her charm techniques to the point where she could infiltrate the mind. With one glance, she could tell that Shao Chen was undergoing a heart tribulation. However, 7 days had passed, and Shao Chen still had not woken up. Not good. The heart demon probably caught hold of his weakness. "I have to go and take a look." Originally, Ling Yu was prepared to never face Shao Chen again. However, now that Shao Chen was in danger, she could no longer care so much. A purple mark flickered on Ling Yu's forehead. A strong wind blew, and a strong aura spread out from her body. The clouds scattered, revealing Ling Yu in azure, looking tyrannical as she hovered in midair. At this moment, the demon monarch Ling Yu did not look weak at all. Ling Yu's strong aura caused the vast and boundless sea to tremble in fear, kicking up huge waves. Ao Jiao looked up. However, before she could understand what was going on, she fainted the moment she saw Ling Yu's eyes. Ling Yu floated down and placed a finger on Xiao Chen's forehead. A horrifying scene appeared before her eyes. His heart, which was beating non-stop, had already been half occupied by the black shadow. It looked as if an ugly monster was going to swallow the tender heart whole. What exactly is it that made him completely defenseless, opening up his heart? Does this fellow not know that he is undergoing a heart tribulation? The demon monarch Ling Yu exclaimed. Then, she directly entered that heart. Whoosh! The scene before Ling Yu changed. She saw a scene that caused her mind to go blank. She saw Xiao Chen closing his eyes, letting her touch his forehead with her finger. The two revealed smiles on their faces. However, Xiao Chen's smile was blissful and serene. Ling Yu's smile was strange and sinister. To think that Xiao Chen opened up his heart for her. Damn it! Damn it to the extreme! Rage surged in Ling Yu's heart. Her expression turned cold. She had never felt so furious before. Insignificant heart demon, who gave you the courage to touch this monarch's person? Ling Yu roared as she walked over step by step. The demon monarch's tyranny made others not dare to look her in the eye. The heart demon Ling Yu, who was in front of Xiao Chen, turned her head and was startled, turning pale. Still not stopping. Do you believe that this monarch will lock you in a heart prison and let the heart flame burn you for 1,000 years, 10,000 years? The heart demon Ling Yu trembled, quickly letting go in fright. Xiao Chen slowly woke up. He recalled the memories he had with Ling Yu back then. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and saw two Ling Yu before him. One was lying on the ground, looking very weak. The other had a cold and emotionless face and a frightening killing chi. Her gaze revealed a strong tyrannical aura. Xiao Chen, she is a heart demon. Quickly, save me, the heart demon Ling Yu said as she sobbed. Ling Yu frowned and shouted coldly, "How dare you!" Ling Yu waved her long sleeves, and the heart demon Ling Yu's body immediately burned. She cried out in pain and reverted to her original form. That clump of ugly, illusory light changed continuously as she wailed in pain. Xiao Chen seemed to wake up from a dream. He looked at Ling Yu, who gave off the boundless sovereign aura. However, he felt somewhat confused, not knowing what was going on. Ling Yu walked over step by step, and her expression turned gentle. You opened up your heart to the heart demon. The situation is critical. Don't ask anything now. I already occupied this heart demon's true body. If you kill me now, you can come out. Xiao Chen felt like he was dreaming. You did not leave all this while. Are you watching me undergo my tribulation? Ling Yu smiled sadly. If something happens to you, I will not be able to rest easy. After saying that, Ling Yu grabbed Xiao Chen's hand and stabbed it into her heart. Boom! All the illusions vanished, and Xiao Chen returned to reality. He saw blood leaking out of a corner of Ling Yu's lips. Her finger, which was on Xiao Chen's forehead, relaxed. Chapter 1308. Xiao Chen felt a pang in his heart. He quickly stretched out his hand to grab it. However, Ling Yu's body turned into light and scattered. Ling Yu revealed a smile as she caressed Xiao Chen's face with her other hand. Don't overthink. The relationship between you and me is not something that can be explained with words like favor. Whether you are the Blue Dragon King of the Kunlun realm or me, the demon monarch, in my heart, you will always be that frivolous youth who left me behind. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, Ling Yu's body turned into nothing. This clone died for the sake of saving Xiao Chen. At the same time, in a cold and magnificent palace in the deep abyss demonic world, Ling Yu wore luxurious yellow robes and had her eyes closed, exuding a cold and noble air. Many figures stood on both sides of the throne. Without exception, they were all handsome men with strong auras. There were humans, fiend race, deity race, and demon race. These were Ling Yu's heart slaves, all her slaves. When the clone died, Ling Yu, who was on the throne, opened her eyes. All the heart slaves knelt down and shouted respectfully, "Master!" Ling Yu did not even look at them. She stretched out her hand, and a beam of light materialized into a white-clad youth with a treasured saber hanging at his waist. There are thousands of handsome men in the world. The demon monarch, Ling Yu, is moved only by you. What happened in the illusion happened in reality as well. What was real and what was fake, what was real and what was fake. Even Xiao Chen could not distinguish them. No wonder the heart demon could find an opening. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and looked at his dantian. The purple electric chi whirlpool had clearly doubled in size. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and finally understood. In the illusion, when he checked the 8th layer of the purple thunder divine incantation, all sorts of things attracted his attention, preventing him from checking it. This was because even Xiao Chen did not know what the 8th layer of the purple thunder divine incantation was like. Naturally, he could not create a heart demon in the illusion. Now that he saw the chi whirlpool formed by the 8th layer of the purple thunder divine incantation and his sea of consciousness that had expanded by 4 or 5 times, he finally knew that he was truly standing in reality. After a while, Xiao Chen guffawed loudly. Ling Yu had indeed not changed. Xiao Chen had not misjudged her. There was an indescribable carefreeness in Xiao Chen's laughter, as if a knot in his heart had been untied. After laughing, a feeling of hunger suddenly came from every part of his body. Not only did the cyclone in his dantian feel hungry, but the nascent soul in his sea of consciousness was also crying piteously for food. Since he reached the consummation blue-robed emperor, his cultivation had stopped. After that, Xiao Chen, he had not felt this hunger in a long time. Unfortunately, this was the Sky Dome realm and not the Kunlun realm. Otherwise, it would be like a fish in the sea, comfortable and carefree. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. The progress that he had been waiting for was finally here. Xiao Chen, Qi, Xiao and Chen and A Yun and the Xiao, and Ji Chen. After the purple thunder divine incantation converted the spiritual energy from the essence stones, it split into 2 parts. One flowed to his sea of consciousness, increasing his magic energy. The other flowed to the blue dragon Yuanying, increasing his cultivation. In merely 1 hour, the 2 essence stones were completely drained, turning into useless rock. His body was not satisfied yet. Xiao Chen tossed them aside and continued to take out the 2 essence stones to cultivate. Right now, he urgently needed these cultivation resources, so he did not feel any reluctance to part with them. Time passed slowly. After 3 days, the hunger in Xiao Chen's body was no longer as pressing. The magic energy flowing in his enlarged sea of consciousness already occupied half of it. Counting carefully, the magic energy was more than double that of the purple thunder divine incantation's 7th layer. Furthermore, it was purer. When Xiao Chen filled his sea of consciousness, his magic energy would be much stronger. However, this was not the greatest change. The greatest change was in his blue dragon Yuanying. The blue dragon martial spirit residing in his dantian felt like it had undergone a qualitative leap. However, the price was startling as well. In the past 3 days, Xiao Chen had used up double the 20,000 essence stones that he had. Xiao Chen sighed softly. If I were in the Kunlun realm, given the abundant spiritual energy of the Kunlun realm, I would have been able to save at least 5,000 essence stones. Although Xiao Chen said this, he did not regret it. There were too many uncertainties in the Kunlun realm. He might not have been able to clear his tribulation so smoothly in the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen, you cleared your heart tribulation? Ao Jiao, who had been unconscious for 3 days, slowly woke up. She still felt somewhat groggy. Xiao Chen smiled and said, I did. It's been hard on you. Ao Jiao smiled embarrassedly and said, What hard on me? I'm too embarrassed to say that I actually fell asleep. Damn it. Xiao Chen understood that Ao Jiao should not have fallen asleep. Ling Yu must have made her fall asleep. Come, let's return to Qingyun Peak. In the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiao Chen's life became exceptionally peaceful. Aside from cultivating, he would wander around. Occasionally, he would see some of his old friends in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The Taiji Dao, the Saber Domain, and the major magic skill of Dermic World slowly calmed down during these peaceful days. Sometimes, when Xiao Chen calmed down, he vaguely felt that the Emperor's bridge that connected the world to the chasm was already mostly completed. Xiao Chen stood on the bridge and looked across. The heavy fog surrounding the Emperor's door had already significantly dissipated. The great tribulation of wind and fire approached. It was fine in the Sky Dome realm. When Xiao Chen cultivated, he could even hear the sound of surging winds and blazing flames. Under such circumstances, Xiao Chen had already stopped cultivating his primordial energy and heavenly sage laws. He feared that if he made a mistake, the great tribulation of wind and fire would suddenly descend, catching him off guard. Xiao Chen focused all his attention on the cultivation of his magic energy, continuously tempering and polishing his magic energy, making it even purer. Now, he could maintain the major magic skill of Dermic World for 3 seconds. One should not underestimate these 3 seconds. 3 seconds of Dermic World was sufficient for Xiao Chen to do many things. If he used it at a crucial moment, he could instantly reverse the situation and turn the situation around. The Taiji Dao, the mysteries of stillness and movement, fast and slow, had already formally entered the introductory stage. This Taiji Dao was like a brand new door, opening a completely different world for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's cultivation of the fish dragon art slowly entered an optimal state. When he dodged, he nearly completely infused it into the Taiji Dao. The cultivation of the Saber Domain entered a completely different realm, a comprehension that had never been recorded in the Kunlun realm before. Now, Xiao Chen had cultivated 3 spots of light like the sun in his sea of consciousness. Xiao Chen did not know what they were exactly. He only knew that when he touched them, they would be extremely mighty, as horrifying as the sun exploding. In the blink of an eye, 1 year had passed since Xiao Chen left the Kunlun realm and arrived in the Sky Dome realm. On this particular day, Yu Chenxi, Gong Yangyu, and Xianyuan Zhantian traveled together to Qingyun Peak, where Xiao Chen was. "Are we leaving?" Xiao Chen asked. The 3 nodded. They were different from Xiao Chen. Right now, Xiao Chen could no longer raise his cultivation. He mainly focused on cultivating his mental state and cultivating his magic energy. Furthermore, they were in their golden years and needed to take risks and encounter great fortuitous encounters to raise their cultivation. They could not remain in the Sky Dome realm for long. Half a year was already a very long time. If they were in the Kunlun realm, half a year would be enough to raise their cultivation by 1 grade. Right now, the Sky Dome realm looks peaceful on the surface, but in reality there are undercurrents. One day it will erupt, Yu Chenxi said worriedly. At the mention of this, Xianyuan Zhantian felt worried. He nodded and said, "Indeed. My father told me that there will be a great change in the Kunlun realm. Great chaos is coming. Right now this is just the calm before the storm." From the moment Feng Zi started snatching the Sky Dome heart, Xiao Chen had already anticipated that there would be a great change in the Sky Dome realm. Xiao Chen knew even more than these 3. He had learned from Yingyu that the great chaos 10,000 years ago, which caused the Tianwu Emperor and the Qing Emperor to fall at the same time, started in the Sky Dome realm. With such worry, even if they left, they would not feel at ease. Xiao Chen said, "How about this? Bring your families to my Xiao clan. I laid a formation there that can defend against Emperor Wu. Even if there is great chaos in the future, it will be a buffer, giving us time to send reinforcements." "That is good." Yu Chenxi and the other 2 rejoiced. On this trip to the Kunlun realm, the ones they worried about the most were their families. With Xiao Chen's words, they finally had something to worry about. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Then, he thought of something and said, "There are a few people of my Xiao clan with pretty good talent. This time, I'll have to trouble you to bring them to the Kunlun realm. If you have time, help me take care of them. Don't worry. Just leave this small matter to us." As Xiao Chen watched the three leave excitedly, he revealed a contemplative expression on his calm face. Everything that happened in the Sky Dome Immortal realm still made him feel uneasy. Something must have happened in the Kunlun realm. Otherwise, the three holy masters would not be so bold as to send people to the Sky Dome realm to seek trouble for him. Everyone says that great chaos is coming. How chaotic will it be? Xiao Chen asked as he swirled the teacup in his hand. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He felt a fluctuation, and he immediately looked into the distance. At the limits of his vision was the ancient desolate land, the hidden dragon lake, the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave. This was strange. Back then, the formation that Xiao Chen used to seal the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave was considered powerful in the Sky Dome realm. However, it could not block an existence on the level of the blue-robed Emperor. However, even after so many years, no one had touched the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave. Many people should be interested in such a person. However, no one had broken the formation that Xiao Chen left. Xiao Chen was the one who laid the formation, and the formation flags were his secret treasures. As long as there was any movement, he would be able to sense it immediately. Back then, when Xiao Chen left the formation, he did not intend to block everyone. He only wanted to be able to rush over immediately when someone touched the formation. However, no one touched it. Was it because they feared his reputation and did not dare to touch it? Xiao Chen felt that this possibility was very low. The greater reason might be because of Chu Chaoyun. This person definitely held a high position in the deep abyss demonic world. Perhaps Xiao Chen had instructed the demons not to touch it. As for the people of the Sky Dome realm, they gave him face and did not touch it. However, there was a sudden fluctuation today. Someone was touching the formation that Xiao Chen left behind. Strange. Xiao Chen stood up and casually tore space, rushing towards the ancient desolate land at lightning speed. 10,000 years ago, the ancient desolate land had been the capital of the Tianwu dynasty, the center of the entire Sky Dome realm. With the fall of the dynasty, the prosperity of the past was no more. Now, this place had turned into a stretch of endless lake. Chapter 1309. Whoosh! Xiao Chen appeared in the sky above the ancient desolate land. He felt that the attacks on the formation had suddenly stopped. The formation that Xiao Chen laid was still there. This startled Xiao Chen. It was not that someone was truly trying to break the formation. They just wanted to lure him over. Who could it be? However, Xiao Chen did not fear this. Right now, he believed that no one in the Sky Dome realm was a match for him. Even major characters like the three holy masters did not dare to send people to seek trouble for him after Xiao Chen snatched away 3 sets of P-quality king-grade battle armor. Xiao Chen only felt suspicious. Who exactly was the person who lured him over? Was he not afraid of death? Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense everywhere he looked, immediately covering the entire lake in the ancient desolate land. The cultivators on the various islands and lakes with different expressions could not escape Xiao Chen's eyes. After scanning the entire lake and withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen still could not find anyone suspicious. Just as Xiao Chen's gaze shifted, he noticed a back view. The owner of this back view sat at the edge of the ancient desolate land with a sword on his back. As he looked at the lake in the ancient desolate land, he entered a daze, his face filled with grief. Just by looking at this back view, one could sense the sorrow and vicissitudes of life in his heart. It's him. Xiao Chen slowly descended and walked over step by step. With one look, he guessed who this back view was. It was the Tianwu dynasty's descendant Chu Chaoyun. Chu Chaoyun did not have any special aura. He looked ordinary. When the other cultivators passed by saw this appearance, they all felt confused. They all felt that they didn't know what was going on and found it hard to understand. Why was Chu Chaoyun staring at the lake in a daze for no reason? Furthermore, he even put on a sorrowful expression. Who was he showing this to? When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he suddenly thought of a saying, "Those who know me know my worries. Those who do not know me know what I seek." Those who knew the ins and outs, like Xiao Chen, naturally knew. Chu Chaoyun was just reminiscing. 10,000 years ago, this was the most bustling place in the Sky Dome realm, the center of the entire world. Carriages and people came and went, and the banners of the Tianwu dynasty filled the air. However, 10,000 years later, the city was gone and the capital was destroyed. All that could be seen was a vast lake. As a descendant of the dynasty, he would probably feel deeply moved every time he saw it. However, outsiders did not know that those martial artists who passed by only saw a silly boy staring blankly at the lake. When he saw Chu Chaoyun, he was certain that he was the one who had led him here. As if he had eyes at the back of his head, Chu Chaoyun seemed to have sensed Xiao Chen's arrival. He suddenly got up and dashed forward. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat, and he chased after him. As the chase continued, they arrived at the hidden dragon lake. Chu Chaoyun dove into the lake with a plop. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Chen evaluated his strength. Even if there was an ambush below, he would be able to escape if he executed Dermic World and even kill his opponent. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chen quickly followed after Chu Chaoyun and entered the hidden dragon lake. When Xiao Chen reached the bottom of the lake and passed through the invisible barrier, he saw Chu Chaoyun hovering in the air above the Tianwu Emperor's grave. Aside from Chu Chaoyun, there was no one else in the surroundings. There was no ambush that Xiao Chen feared. Xiao Chen walked over calmly and asked, "What do you want by luring me here?" "Chu Chaoyun, you can speak now, right?" Before the Tianwu Emperor's grave, Chu Chaoyun turned around and looked at Xiao Chen. Then, he revealed a smile and said, "It's nothing. I just want to see how strong you are now." Xiao Chen was now extremely calm. He asked indifferently, "In that case, are you really seeking death?" Chu Chaoyun smiled and said, "Indeed. Aside from Emperor Wu, no one is a match for you. Even the most horrifying outstanding talents of the royal clans in the deep abyss demonic world might not be a match for you. However, when judging a person, one should not just look at what is in front of them. More importantly, one has to look at the future. I am here to see if you have any hope of clearing your tribulation." Xiao Chen said interestedly, "Many thanks for your concern. In that case, what do you think my chances are?" Chu Chaoyun replied unhurriedly, "With your strength, I feel that you have a 10% chance." Xiao Chen smiled and said, 10%? That is quite a high chance. Since ancient times, not even 1 in 10,000 people have cleared their great tribulation of wind and fire. I'm not done yet. If we consider external factors, your chances of clearing your tribulation would be 1 in 10,000. Chu Chaoyun paused for a moment before continuing, "Perhaps you do not know yet, but the Thunder King's 10,000-year tribulation arrived early. Now there is no news of him. His fate is unknown. No one knows any news of him." "What?" "You heard right. Now there is no news of the Thunder King. Many rumors say that he is already dead. The entire Kunlun realm is in chaos." When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt startled. No wonder the 3 holy masters dared to come to the lower realm and send people to attack him. Turned out that such a huge change had happened in the Kunlun realm. As the undisputed king of the Kunlun realm, the strongest expert, the Thunder King, such a huge situation actually happened to him. There was no news of him, and his fate was unknown. The Thunder King could be considered Xiao Chen's strongest backer. Back in the Kunlun realm, the Thunder King's existence was a major reason why Xiao Chen had not been crushed to death by the major characters. However, such a change was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for Xiao Chen. The difficulty of advancing to martial emperor suddenly increased explosively. The great tribulation of wind and fire already left him in a terrible state. The moment the Thunder King left, the balance of the external factors was broken. The external factors immediately became strange. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, "Sorry for bringing you such bad news. However, this is good as well. It is much better than going to the Kunlun realm and suddenly finding out. At the very least, you have a buffer." Xiao Chen recovered his wits and asked coldly, "What's wrong? Should I thank you?" Chu Chaoyun waved his hand and said, "There's no need for that. You don't have to look at me like that. There will definitely be a battle between us, but now is not the time." These words again? Xiao Chen frowned and said, "I've heard enough of these words. What exactly is the grudge between us? Although I have always treated you as my opponent, I do not have much hatred for you. However, for so many years, you have been hiding things from me, telling me these words. What exactly do you mean?" "There's no rush. Our goal is the same. We have not achieved our goal yet, so how can we tell you everything? Catch this." Chu Chaoyun gently leaped up and casually broke the formation that Xiao Chen left. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed a formation flag, tossing it to Xiao Chen. A formation that a martial sage laid could not pose a problem for Chu Chaoyun. Xiao Chen was not surprised. However, he had not expected the other party to break it so casually. Xiao Chen caught the formation flag and saw that Chu Chaoyun seemed to want to destroy the Tianwu Emperor's grave. His expression changed slightly, and a murderous intent surged in his heart. "Stop!" Chu Chaoyun gently drifted down and stood on the simple tombstone of the first-generation Tianwu Emperor. He smiled gently and said, "Why stop? Actually, you must be very curious about the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave, right? Today, I will let you see what is inside." Before Xiao Chen could stop Chu Chaoyun, he saw Chu Chaoyun shatter the tombstone with one palm strike. The entire grave exploded, blasting the coffin out. The lid of the coffin opened with a huang dang sound. When Xiao Chen, who was preparing to make a move, saw the situation in the coffin, his face filled with shock and disbelief. With a face full of shock and disbelief, he stopped what he was doing. Empty? That's right. After the heavy coffin lid opened, there was nothing in the coffin. It was completely clean and there was nothing there. Xiao Chen suspected that he saw wrong. This place had been determined to be the grave of the first-generation Tianwu Emperor for close to 20,000 years. However, there was indeed nothing in there. The old dragon guarding this place had solemnly instructed Xiao Chen not to let anyone open it. There was nothing in there. What difference would it make if Xiao Chen did not open it? Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at Chu Chaoyun. "You knew long ago that there was nothing in there?" Chu Chaoyun smiled gently and said, "If there really was any inheritance, someone would have opened it long ago when the Tianwu dynasty was destroyed to save the dynasty. Those major characters would have already come to take it away. How could it be left to us, two small fries?" Xiao Chen did not dare to believe it. However, that old dragon solemnly guarded this place for who knows how many years. If there is nothing in there, why would it need to guard this place? Chu Chaoyun's lips curled up as he kicked the coffin a few times. "It is not that there is nothing. I heard that this coffin was made by the first-generation Tianwu Emperor himself. It has a pretty good commemorative value. The old dragon was foolishly loyal. What it guarded was just a symbol." Chu Chaoyun's words were filled with disrespect for this first-generation Tianwu Emperor. He did not care about the first-generation Tianwu Emperor at all, treating him like an ancestor, not showing any respect at all. Xiao Chen still found this inconceivable. This result surpassed his expectations. Unexpectedly, there was nothing in the grave of the first-generation Tianwu Emperor. Xiao Chen's figure flashed and arrived at the blasted grave. The grave palace was rather intact, filled with the style of the ancient Tianwu dynasty. Xiao Chen carefully looked around. The construction of the grave palace was not complicated or spacious. The walls of the average-sized grave palace were all solid. There were no secret passages or secret rooms. There were some murals carved on the walls. When Xiao Qian touched them, he felt a sharp sword intent. Even after the destruction of the dynasty, more than 20,000 years ago, the sword intent was still sharp. If not for Xiao Qian's current strength and his cultivation of the saber Dao reaching an unprecedented level, it would be hard to say that he would not be injured. Aside from the sharpness, Xiao Qian could feel the casual nature of the sword intent's master in this sword intent. That was to say, these murals were casually left behind by the sword intent's master and did not hold any special meaning. Xiao Qian withdrew his hand and carefully examined the murals. Due to the passage of time, the murals were already very blurry. Most of them were covered by dust. However, based on the trajectory of the sword intent, Xiao Qian could feel that the sword intent's master carved these murals in one breath, using a sword. Xiao Qian looked around and used his sharp senses to find the starting point of the murals. After that, he stepped forward and closed his eyes. Then, he used his left hand to touch the starting point. Life bestowal spell. Xiao Qian formed hand seals with his right hand and extended his hand. The dust in the grave palace flickered with light. Under the control of Xiao Qian's life bestowal spell, the dust gathered into a figure holding a sword. Vaguely, Xiao Qian seemed to see the scene of the sword intent's master dancing with a sword 20,000 years ago. Xiao Qian followed the starting point of the murals and walked forward step by step. His right hand continuously formed hand seals. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The figure formed by the dust danced with the sword, executing a sword technique. It was like this figure was reenacting the actions of the sword intent's master from 20,000 years ago, dancing with the sword. The sword light was magnificent and elegant. Chapter 13:10. His swordsmanship could not be considered very brilliant, but his carefree and casual temperament could still be felt clearly even after 20,000 years. Sword chi swept through the grave palace, causing the dust on the walls to fall off. The mural that revealed the true face of Mount Lu seemed to be influenced. The figure in the mural came to life and started dancing. Instantly, the entire grave palace was filled with sword images. Metallic clangs rang out endlessly. The scenes of distant history and reality merged together, creating a complicated scene. The stars moved in the grave palace as if time and space were reversed. On the ground, the previously calm Chu Chaoyun showed a slightly strange expression when he saw the sky full of sword images in the grave palace. Suddenly, two figures of light appeared on Chu Chaoyun's left and right, one black and one white. They held swords and moved at the same time. The sword technique materialized was no different from the one in the grave palace. In these sword images, Xiao Qian found a familiar feeling. The three sun-like lights in his sea of consciousness flickered endlessly, showing off their sharpness. They were like suns in his sea of consciousness, giving off an intense light. Xiao Qian walked slowly, step by step. As he sensed the sword Dao contained in the sword intent, he continuously perfected his saber Dao. When Xiao Qian reached the end of the mural, the figure formed by the life bestowal spell smiled faintly and nodded. It seemed very satisfied with the mural that it made. Then, it sheathed its sword and soared into the sky. Chu Chaoyun raised his head and looked at the figure soaring into the sky. His expression was complicated as he muttered to himself, "Since you are so strong, unparalleled since ancient times, why did you leave behind this vast dynasty and not care about it?" Whoosh! The black and white figures merged into Chu Chaoyun's body. He stretched out his finger, and the figure soaring into the sky directly shattered, turning into countless specks of dust and scattering. Inside the grave palace, Xiao Qian did not know about Chu Chaoyun's expression. He was currently carefully comprehending what he gained from the mural. Xiao Qian was practically certain that the first-generation Tianwu emperor left this mural behind. He had casually created it in one breath, forming this majestic painting. Xiao Qian entered deep thought. Those sun-like motes of light in his sea of consciousness were a kind of energy that could only be comprehended through the saber domain after entering the saber Tao. Let's call it saber energy for now. It was a certain level of the saber Tao. He felt a similar sword energy in the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's sword intent. However, the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's sword energy was much stronger than Xiao Qin's. It would not be an exaggeration to describe it as a drop of water compared to an ocean. From the looks of it, Xiao Qin's choice in the saber domain was correct. As a bladesman, he should focus on the saber and supplement it with his domain. The use of the saber domain for bladesmen was to cultivate this saber energy. With a flash, Xiao Qin reappeared on the ground. He looked at Chu Chaoyun and said, "Many thanks for your help. Otherwise, I would not have been able to understand my saber Tao so clearly." Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, "I didn't mean it. You don't have to thank me. I should be the one thanking you for making me realize how despicable the owner of this tomb is." Hate. Xiao Qin saw hatred in Chu Chaoyun's eyes, hatred for the first-generation Tianwu Emperor. The first-generation Tianwu Emperor left behind a fake tomb and faked his own death, no longer caring about his descendants or the dynasty he founded. No wonder Chu Chaoyun hated him. Where did the first-generation Tianwu Emperor go? Had he left this place of exile? Or perhaps he was not a person of this abandoned land at all and just went to where he should be. Why did Xiao Qin think this way? It was because he felt that this first-generation Tianwu Emperor was ridiculously strong, much stronger than the cultivators of the Kunlun realm's ancient era. There was also that strange heavenly flame. Xiao Qin felt that this heavenly flame might be like the heavenly snow divine flame that he obtained, a flame born from the primal chaos. However, the heavenly flame was already nourished to an extremely strong level. As for the heavenly snow divine flame that Xiao Qin obtained, it was extremely weak, like a baby crying piteously for food. Xiao Qin calmed down and said with a grave expression, "Chu Chaoyun, what is your purpose in luring me here? Can you tell me now? You told me that the Thunder King is missing and blasted open the tomb. What exactly are you trying to say?" Chu Chaoyun smiled and said, "Given your intelligence, you should be able to figure it out on your own. Think about it." Xiao Qin's face sank. He knew that Chu Chaoyun definitely had an ulterior motive for luring him here. He would not come here to reminisce for no reason. Xiao Qin's thoughts raced. A light flashed in his mind, and 4 words rang out, luring the tiger away from the mountains. With a thought, Xiao Qin split his spiritual sense into 2 and spread it out frantically. Soon, the scene of the Xiao clan city and Qingyun Peak appeared in Xiao Qin's mind. It was calm and peaceful, without any ripples. Everything is fine. In that case, it is for the remaining half of the Sky Dome Heart. Xiao Qin narrowed his eyes and looked straight at Chu Chaoyun. He said, "You want to obtain the Sky Dome Heart?" Chu Chaoyun smiled and said, "You are indeed not stupid. However, it is useless for you to know now. The Sky Dome Palace should have been broken already. Speaking of which, I have to thank you. If not for you demonstrating how to break that Sky Dome Dragon formation, the Sky Dome Palace would not have been easy to break." Whoosh! Xiao Qin could not be bothered to speak nonsense with Chu Chaoyun. His figure flashed and flew forward, preparing to rush to the Sky Dome Palace. "It is not that easy to go and help." Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly. His left eye released an intense white light, and his right eye turned a fearsome black. A smile separated black and white. With Chu Chaoyun's body as the boundary, one on the left and one on the right, black and white were distinct. The black light and the white light divided the entire world into 2. It was an extremely strange sight. The black and white lights formed a formless aura that tried to swallow up Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's heart skipped a beat. This fellow had already comprehended the will of light and the will of darkness to their limits. Xiao Qin's figure flickered, and this aura forced him back. After spreading out his saber domain, the moment Xiao Qin landed, he gently pushed off with his feet. Then, he shot forward like a sharp arrow, charging with an even stronger aura. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and spread out his sword domain as well. Then, he took a step forward and charged at Xiao Chen. The two did not draw their sabers and swords, fighting speed with speed, only using their fists and palms. However, the saber intent and sword intent in their fists and palms were not weak at all. Although it was clearly just a clash of fists and feet, intense clanging rang out in the sky. The saber domain and the sword domain overlapped, piercing space and turning it into a mess. Xiao Chen did not use the Taiji Dao, only using his saber domain and his fists and feet to fight. The two knew that this was just a simple test. After 100 moves, they both pushed back 10 kilometers and faced each other from a distance. Faintly, the two of them emitted a sharp glow that soared into the sky, forming a formless saber and a formless sword. Suddenly, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Chu Chaoyun, it looks like your cultivation of the state of primal chaos is not going well. The stronger you cultivate light and darkness, the more they oppose each other, and the harder it is to merge them." A few years ago, when Xiao Chen met Chu Chaoyun, the other party could still merge light and darkness, forming a vague form of primal chaos. However, now that Chu Chaoyun grew stronger, the opposition between light and darkness intensified, making it even harder to merge them. "It is enough to stop you," Chu Chaoyun said. He did not confirm or deny Xiao Chen's guess. Xiao Chen retorted indifferently, "That might not be the case." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he drew the lunar shadow saber. Then, he used his flawless saber Dao to form an even more ferocious aura. His body merged with the saber. His clothes and hair each gave off a sharpness. Retreat. Before Xiao Chen's strong aura, Chu Chaoyun did not choose to clash head-on. His body gave off a black and white light as he took 5 steps back. When he could no longer retreat, Chu Chaoyun drew his sword. Chong! Chong! When Xiao Chen drew his sword, 2 sword hums rang out. Suddenly, Chu Chaoyun's body split into 2. One was clad in black robes, and the other was clad in white robes. Their appearances were the same, but their auras were different. The most important thing was that they both had a sword domain. Light sword domain and dark sword domain. Just because I did not enter the primal chaos Great Tao does not mean that I have become weak. The two figures spoke at the same time, their voices echoing in the surroundings. Then, they suppressed Xiao Chen from the left and right. Invisibly, Xiao Chen's saber technique was suppressed. Taiji Dao. With a thought, the primordial energy in Xiao Chen's body materialized the Taiji force field as he executed the fish dragon art. Xiao Chen alternated between fast and slow. After images flashed, and lightning flashed in the sky, reversing the situation. Xiao Chen was no longer in the mood to waste time with Chu Chaoyun. He still had to rush to the Sky Dome Palace. After 100 moves, Xiao Chen directly executed the Taiji explosion. Bang! The ground under Xiao Chen's feet exploded. The power of the world controlled by the Taiji force field shattered and shattered. The explosion of the Taiji force field seemed to have obliterated the laws of the Great Tao within 1 kilometer. Chu Chaoyun's black and white figures vomited blood as they flew back. After they landed, they smiled bitterly. Without primordial energy, fighting you is really at a disadvantage. Among the same generation, any outstanding talent that did not advance to martial emperor would be using half their strength to fight Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen snorted coldly and said, "Go away. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting serious." After obstructing him until now, Xiao Chen was truly enraged. He still had the peak will of thunder, the 3 layers of saber energy, and the major magic skill, Dermic World. If Chu Chaoyun continued to block him, Xiao Chen would not mind using these trump cards. However, Chu Chaoyun should also have trump cards that he had not used. Defeating the other party would not be a problem. However, whether he could kill Xiao Chen was uncertain. Xiao Chen sheathed his swords and smiled at the same time, saying, "Let's go. I hope you can make it in time." Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. Then, he glanced at Chu Chaoyun before leaving in a flash. How much of his strength do you think he has exposed? The white-robed Chu Chaoyun asked. The black-robed Chu Chaoyun replied unhurriedly, about 40%. It seemed like Chu Chaoyun was talking to himself, but it also seemed like the two of them were conversing. The scene was incredibly strange. Two beams of light, one black and one white, merged back into Chu Chaoyun's body. Primal chaos filled his eyes as he muttered, "The great chaos of the Kunlun realm has already begun. No matter what, I hope you can clear your great tribulation of wind and fire." By the time Xiao Chen arrived at the Sky Dome Palace, the recently rebuilt Sky Dome Palace was in disarray again. Many cultivators lay on the ground, crying and groaning. However, most of them were fine. Their lives were not in danger. Amid the crowd, Xiao Chen found Old Yun. The other party's complexion was very poor, like he had aged significantly. Chapter 13:11. Xiao Chen's heart sank. He knew that he was probably too late, so he walked over and asked around. Indeed, a group of mysterious people snatched away the remaining half of the Sky Dome heart. They are not demons? No. Although they were masked, I can be sure that they are not demons. They do not have the aura of a demon. Old Yun told Xiao Chen about what happened back then. A group of masked people used a method similar to what Xiao Chen did. They made the dragon soul in the sky clash with the Sky Dome Dragon on the ground, breaking the Sky Dome Dragon formation and snatching away the Sky Dome heart. Old Yun sighed, "This world is really chaotic. I believe that this group of mysterious people will snatch away the other half of the Sky Dome heart from the demons." Xiao Chen was stunned. It looked like Chu Chaoyun's ambition was extraordinarily great. Unknowingly, Chu Chaoyun actually gained such a strong force in the Sky Dome realm. It was like he could occupy the entire Sky Dome realm at any time. Chu Chaoyun was just waiting for an opportunity, waiting for true chaos to descend. Old Yun continued, "Right now, the Bushan Palace is also very chaotic. Blue Dragon King, when you return, you have to be more careful." Xiao Chen asked curiously, "What do you mean?" Old Yun frowned and said, "There are many factions in the Bushan Palace. Everything is in chaos. I requested for reinforcements several times, but they ignored me. From the looks of it, it looks like they want to revolt and re-elect the palace master of the Bushan Palace. They simply cannot care about such a small matter. I did not receive much news while I was in the Sky Dome realm. I really don't know what happened for it to suddenly become so chaotic." Xiao Chen knew very well that the Thunder King had disappeared, his fate unknown. The three holy masters were already dissatisfied with the Thunder King. It would be strange if the situation was not chaotic. However, Xiao Chen could not tell Old Yun all this. That would only make him worry. Xiao Chen consoled, "Since the Sky Dome heart is gone, there is no need to rebuild the Sky Dome Palace. Come with me to the Xiao clan. There is a small iron defense magic formation that I laid there. Its offense is not strong, but its defense is much stronger than the Sky Dome Dragon formation." "Really? Thank you, Blue Dragon King," Elder Yun said with a smile. Xiao Chen sighed. Chaos was coming, and he couldn't help much. This was all he could do. He really wanted to go to the Kunlun realm to see what was going on. However, the Taiji Dao, the flawless Saber Dao, and the cultivation of Saber energy needed to be sorted out properly. He could not act rashly. 1 year. Give me 1 more year. That will be enough, Xiao Chen said in a deep voice. The fact that the Sky Dome heart had fallen into Chu Chaoyun's hands was already a fact that could not be changed. Xiao Chen did not care too much about what Chu Chaoyun was planning or how much power he had in the Sky Dome realm. He only cared about the safety of his family and friends, as well as the disciples on Blue Cloud Peak. After leaving the Sky Dome Palace, Xiao Chen arrived at the Xiao Clan city. Then, he saw Yu Chenxi and the other two, who were about to leave, in the city lord's residence. Right now, the Kunlun realm was in great chaos. However, great chaos often meant great fortuitous encounters. To the three of them, this might not be a bad thing. Shao Chen, when do you intend to return to the Kunlun realm? When will the great tribulation of wind and fire arrive? Yu Chenxi asked out of concern. Gong Yangyu and Xianyuan Zhantian were also very concerned about this problem. Everyone knew that of the 5 years that Yu Bingyun had set for Shao Chen, only 1.5 years remained. As the time drew closer, it was hard for Shao Chen's good friends to not worry. Shao Chen smiled faintly, not avoiding this question. There is still about 1 more year. I have gained something in the Kunlun realm, and need to properly digest it. As for the great tribulation of wind and fire, it might come at any time. Let nature take its course. When he spoke, his body exuded a sense of tranquility, allowing others to feel his tranquility. Yu Chenxi and the other two felt slightly relieved. They knew that Shao Chen's mentality was much better than theirs. This time, when you go to the Kunlun realm, you should have a great fortuitous encounter. Grasp it well, and it won't be hard to gain something. Remember, your lives are the most important. Xianyuan Zhantian and the others felt suspicious. Shao Chen seemed to know something, but he did not say it clearly. They had not left the Sky Dome realm, so how did Shao Chen know the situation of the Kunlun realm like the back of his hand? Shao Chen, can you explain? Shao Chen shook his head and said, There is no need to say too much. You will understand when you get there. In that case, we will take our leave first. Right. I will leave the 3 juniors of my Shao clan to you as well. After sending off the 3 with his eyes, Shao Chen gave his blessings in his heart. He only hoped that his 3 friends would be able to obtain some peace in this chaotic world. Right now, Shao Chen was like duckweed. If he was not careful, he could get scattered by the wind and wave. There was not much he could do. If he could not clear his great tribulation of wind and fire, he would not be able to protect himself in this chaotic world. Shaking his head, Shao Chen met with his father. Then, he started to think about how to strengthen the small iron defense magic formation around the city lord's residence. Spring passed and autumn arrived. In this Sky Dome realm, Shao Chen traveled back and forth between the Shao clan and Qinyun Peak. Occasionally, he would go out and enjoy the scenery. There was not much time left for Shao Chen. However, he did not just enter closed-door cultivation. Instead, he moved about frequently. Amidst the mountains and rivers, he savored the Taiji Dao and tempered his mental state. He let nature take its course and did not dwell on the details. 7-Horn Mountain, White Water City, the Deep Sea. He walked the paths that he had taken in the past. Finally, he arrived at the most mysterious place of the Sky Dome realm, the ancient desolate tower. Back then, Shao Chen had fought against the outstanding talents of the various nations in the ancient desolate tower. Only then did he gain some fame as the white-robed bladesman. Now that he was in Desolate City again, the bewildering formation that hid the ancient desolate tower naturally did not hinder Shao Chen. He immediately saw that mysterious ancient desolate tower. The ancient desolate tower had existed since the time of the Tianwu dynasty. After understanding the strength of the first-generation Tianwu emperor, Shao Chen even felt that the first-generation Tianwu emperor might have personally built this ancient desolate tower for the sake of tempering the royal clan's disciples. Ao Jiao, speaking of which, why did you make me stop at the 8th floor back then and not go to the 9th floor? You should be able to tell me this secret now, right? Shao Chen asked casually as he recalled a matter from the past. That year, Shao Chen revealed his brilliance among the outstanding talents of the various nations. He overcame all the difficulties and killed his way to the 8th floor. Later, due to Ao Jiao's words, Shao Chen gave up on the idea of entering the 9th floor. That was a small regret. Originally, Shao Chen had expected that Ao Jiao would not make things difficult for him now. Who knew, after Shao Chen spoke for a long time, he did not hear a reply from Ao Jiao. He could not help feeling curious. Now, Shao Chen's strength was overwhelming, comparable to Emperor Wu's. Even Chu Chaoyun had to give way to Xiao Chen, not daring to challenge him. To think that Ao Jiao was still worried. What exactly was in the ancient desolate tower's 9th floor for Ao Jiao to be so worried? Just as Xiao Chen was about to continue asking, Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring. She said, "There is a mirror in there called the Three-Life Mirror. It can show the future and the past. Those who enter the 9th floor will have another chance to choose whether to look at the past or the future." An interested expression appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. And then, Sang Mu chose to look at the future. In the end, he saw his body shattering and his Tao falling. After that, it really came true. No matter how talented he was in the Kunlun realm, he could not change it. Xiao Chen's expression froze. When he heard Ao Jiao's sullen tone, he said, "Sorry, I should not have asked." Xiao Chen finally understood why Ao Jiao did not want him to go to the 9th floor. She was afraid that he would end up like the Thunder King Sang Mu, defeated by fate. Ao Jiao smiled and said, "It's fine. There is no need to hide these things from you. The choice is up to you." Xiao Chen thought to himself, "It would have been fine if I did not know about it in the past. Now that I know about the Three-Life Mirror on the 9th floor, I have to make a trip there." With Xiao Chen's current strength, the various restrictions of the ancient desolate tower were naturally ineffective. If he wanted to enter, he just had to forcibly tear space. However, how should he choose? Look at the past or the future? The Thunder King felt that there was nothing to see in the past, so he chose the future. In the end, he ended up dying without a complete corpse. In the end, it really came true. When Xiao Chen thought about it, it did feel somewhat horrifying. Before fate, a single person's effort was insignificant. No matter how hard he tried, he could not change it. "Little Ao Jiao, wait here for a while. I'll go in and take a look." Without waiting for Ao Jiao to reply, Xiao Chen tore space and broke the various restrictions in space. Then, he silently arrived at the 9th floor of the ancient desolate tower. Indeed, it was as Ao Jiao said. The empty 9th floor only had a mirror in the center. Aside from that, there was nothing else. The mirror was close to 2 meters tall. Its surface was as smooth as water. When Xiao Chen entered, he kicked up a strong wind, causing the mirror to ripple. "Strange, you are already as strong as a half-step Emperor Wu. That's not right. You are even stronger than a regular Emperor Wu. How are you able to enter the ancient desolate tower?" A cute girl appeared in the Three-Life Mirror. She stared at Xiao Chen and asked, finding it strange. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "You must be the item spirit of the Three-Life Mirror, right? Although I did not follow the rules and barged in, I managed to get here step by step. It's just that I gave up this opportunity back then. It's not too late to do it now, right?" The pretty girl in the mirror giggled and said, "So that's how it is. You do have the aura of someone who cleared the earlier stages. In that case, it is not too late. If not for the mark of the earlier stages, even if you managed to barge in, Little 3 would not be able to reveal anything about you." Xiao Chen walked forward and looked at the lively item spirit. He asked, "Do you remember the person who came here the last time?" The pretty girl's eyes sparkled. She smiled in a somewhat infatuated manner and said, "Of course I remember. He was a very handsome fellow, even more handsome than you. However, he did not have the air you have. If I had to choose, I would be in a difficult position. I do not know who to choose. Should I choose the handsome and sunny type or the elegant and quiet type? How difficult, how difficult. How should I choose?" In the mirror, the pretty girl completely forgot about Xiao Chen's existence. She tilted her head and rubbed her chin, appearing to be in a difficult position. Cold sweat appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. This item spirit had been lonely for a long time. It had not spoken for thousands of years, but when it did, it would say a lot. Furthermore, it was infatuated. "He is dead. Is he really dead?" The pretty girl was somewhat stunned at first. Then, she smiled excitedly and said, Little 3 is really incredible. It got it right again. Chapter 13:12. Xiao Chen felt helpless. There was really no way to hate this kind of girl. Furthermore, she was an item spirit. She spoke without thinking, but her heart was rather pure. I knew you wouldn't blame Little 3. Then, tell me, do you choose to look at the past or the future? Looking at the past is giving you a chance to see the various things of your previous life. Looking at the future is letting you see the joys and sorrows of this life. The little beauty smiled as she introduced. She explained in detail, revealing her chatterbox nature. You choose the past or the future? Little 3 smiled mischievously. You only have one chance. Xiao Chen opened his mouth, but he still found it hard to choose. Should he look at the past or the future? What's wrong? You can't decide? Do you need Little 3 to help you decide? The little beauty asked, giggling. Xiao Chen thought for a while before saying, I suddenly thought of something. Be it the past or the future, it cannot be changed. In that case, what is the point of looking at it or not? The past has already happened. Of course, it cannot be changed. However, although the future did not happen, it cannot be changed. The so-called fate was already decided the moment you spoke. Xiao Chen smiled and said, Keep it simple. Just nod and say that I'm right. There's no need for a long explanation. The little beauty smiled bashfully and said, How is that possible? It's just that Little 3 has not met a living person for too long and could not help but speak insincerely. Stop. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand to stop the other party. This little beauty's words gave him a headache. He finally witnessed the terror of a chatterbox. Little 3 covered her mouth and smiled. All right, let's stop talking. If you can't decide, let the heavens decide. Xiao Chen asked curiously, What do you mean? Toss out a prop, and you make the decision in whatever direction it is thrown. When Xiao Chen heard that, he hesitated. Let the heavens decide? Little 3 did not say anything, waiting for Xiao Chen to answer. After muttering to himself for a while, Xiao Chen sighed softly. Since when did his courage fall to such a level? To think that the past and the future had to be decided by the heavens. Indeed, time had worn down his edge. If he had come up here back then, he would have chosen to look at the future without any hesitation. Now that he had restrained his sharpness and stood in a high position, he became fearful instead. How is it? Do you need it? Xiao Chen shook his head. No, I've made up my mind. I don't believe in fate. I only believe in myself. Show me my past. I want to see my past life. No matter what happened in the future, it was the result of his own decisions. It had nothing to do with fate. He wanted to see the past. He was also curious about how he had transmigrated. He occupied the body named Xiao Chen, devoured his soul, inherited the will of the original Xiao Chen, and lived in this world. Was the so-called previous life the previous life of that Earth's Xiao Chen or the original Xiao Chen of the Sky Dome realm? Little 3 pinched his chin and said, Past lives. Very few people look at their past lives. They don't understand what's there to look at. But Big Brother White Clothes, since you've made your choice, Little 3 won't refuse. Put your hand in. Xiao Chen followed Little 3's instructions and directly extended his hand into the mirror. What a white hand! How pretty! It's very elegant and full of spiritual energy. Little 3 really likes it. So, you are called Xiao Chen. However, others call you the white-robed bladesman. Little 3 is not wrong. The pretty little girl smiled as she held Xiao Chen's hand and opened her large, cute eyes wide. Xiao Chen said helplessly, Can we begin now? Yes, let's begin. I'll bring Big Brother White Clothes to see your past life. No matter what happens, don't let go of my hand. I'm going to pull you into this 3-life mirror. Xiao. The pretty little girl pulled hard, and Xiao Chen felt like his soul was being pulled out. The world spun around him, and he felt dizzy. Xiao Chen turned his head and saw that his body still maintained the same posture as before, like a statue, not moving at all. Don't look back. What you need to do now is look forward. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked to the front. A star turned into a flame and fell from the sky. There was no way to avoid it. Surging heat waves and overwhelming ferocious might surged over. Xiao Chen paled in fright and tried to move away on the spot. However, he discovered that Little Three was holding his hand tightly, preventing him from escaping. Before he could cry out, he closed his eyes, and the fireball passed through him and landed on the ground. The fireball smashed open a huge crater. Then, it took human form. Its life essence turned into multicolored light and scattered like firework. Little Three giggled endlessly. Only then did Xiao Chen react. Everything in front of him was the past. It was impossible for it to injure him. Little Three was just scaring him on purpose. I'll settle the score with her later. Xiao Chen did not have time to care about Little Three's little trick. He focused on the scene before him. The scene before him was like the end of the world. There was an unimaginably vast and flourishing palace in the sky. The palace fell apart and flames blazed. All sorts of tender spirit herbs were burned away. The glorious buildings turned into rubble. However, these were not the scariest things. The scariest were the stars in the sky. Only now did Xiao Chen see clearly that these stars were not real stars but people. However, these people were too strong, unimaginably strong. Before they died, they gave off a star-like light. Stars fell from the sky. Space shattered, laws collapsed, and order ceased to exist. The sky fell and the earth cracked. Xiao Chen's mind boomed. This was the scene of the immortal epoc's destruction. How could he have seen such a scene in his previous life? Ah! How incredible! Elder Brother White Robes was actually an immortal in his previous life, Little Three said with a smile as she held Xiao Chen's hand and walked through the space where the immortals fell. Xiao Chen found it strange. He asked, "You don't seem surprised. Have you seen immortals before?" Little Three puffed out her chest and said, "Hee, they are just immortals." Little Three's creator could be considered a major character in the heavenly court. That was a major character who jumped out of the cycle of reincarnation, undying and able to twist time and space. In the past, there were some people who were immortals in their previous lives. However, that is not a big deal. Just looking at the things of my previous life is enough. The past is just a passing cloud. It will not be of much help to this life. Xiao Chen did not say anything. He continued to watch. He wanted to know if this was Earth's previous life or the Sky Dome Realm's, Xiao Chen's previous life. "Hey, I found you!" Little Three's eyes lit up as she led Xiao Chen over. Space and time twisted, and the scene suddenly changed. Xiao Chen arrived in a world of black and white. 18 layers of purgatory, gates of life and death, Yellow Springs Road. Xiao Chen immediately remembered. What is this place? It looks so familiar. Isn't this the Yellow Springs Road, the 18 layers of purgatory that I went to in the past? In the Yellow Springs Road, the last group of immortals of the immortal epoch gathered together with fatigued expressions and weak auras. Among the immortals, there was a person dressed in white, looking spotless. He stood at the side, listening to the discussion of the others without saying a word. Xiao Chen looked at this person. He had a vague feeling that made his heart skip a beat. Was this how I looked in my previous life? Damn it! The immortal epoch collapsed, and this Kitagarbha Bodhisattva actually took advantage of the situation, occupying the entire purgatory. This bald monk is really disgusting. Now that the purgatory is in chaos, he actually took advantage of the situation to refine the sea of bitterness and absorb the power of faith. He blocked the 6 paths of reincarnation, not letting us leave. The group of immortals felt very angry. However, their strength had dropped significantly. They could not do anything to the tyrannical Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. The laws changed, and the immortal epoch came to an end. This group of immortals suffered a destructive blow. Although the Buddhist cultivators were affected as well, they quickly adapted to the situation. The damage to Meru Mountain was much smaller. I'll go and have a chat with him. A murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the white-clad immortal, who had been silent all this while. Then, he walked forward. Sky Dome Immortal Lord, don't be rash, the other immortals immediately exclaimed. Although the Sky Dome Immortal Lord said to go and have a chat, everyone knew that the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva would not agree. There would definitely be a huge battle. Now that the immortal epoch was slowly passing, they could feel their strength weakening. They simply could not fight with this Kittagarbha Bodhisattva. A bolt of lightning flashed in Xiao Chen's mind, stunning him. He had clearly heard and seen that those people were calling out the Sky Dome Immortal Lord, the leader of the 3,000 Immortal Lords. Was that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord in my previous life? Xiao Chen muttered in some disbelief, feeling like he was dreaming. Right now, Xiao Chen had not confirmed whether the Sky Dome Immortal Lord was his previous life or the original Xiao Chen's previous life. I have to go and take a look. Feeling that he was getting closer to the answer, Xiao Chen quickly chased after the Sky Dome Immortal Lord with Little 3. He wanted to see how the Sky Dome Immortal Lord negotiated with the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva. In the sea of bitterness, the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's colossal body gave off layers of Buddhist light. There were 3,000 arhats around him, chanting Buddhist chants and holding Buddhist prayer beads in their hands, continuously purifying the vast number of aggrieved spirit. Hell was shattered, and countless wandering spirits turned into light and entered the Buddhist light behind the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva. It was like there was a nation there. Xiao Chen felt startled. Back then, when he saw the headless body of the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva, the might and pressure from it was already horrifying enough. However, compared to now, it was completely different. The sea of bitterness below the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva was vast and boundless. It was several times larger than the sea of bitterness 10,000 years later. When the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva saw the Sky Dome Immortal Lord arrive, he did not even open his eyes. He said indifferently, "Sky Dome Immortal Lord, I already told you immortals to leave quickly. This Bodhisattva has already made a great vow. I swear not to become a Buddha until hell is empty." The Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's gentle words were supported by Buddhist might, lingering in the surroundings for a long time. The words, "I swear not to become a Buddha until hell is empty," made the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's Buddhist light even brighter. With one look, one could put down the butcher's knife and kneel before Buddha. Compared to the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's colossal body, the white-clad Sky Dome Immortal Lord looked pitifully insignificant as he walked on the sea of bitterness. However, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's outstanding and pure aura was very dazzling when compared to the thousands of aggrieved spirits and wild spirits around him. With one glance, one could discover his extraordinariness. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord looked at the aggrieved spirits in the sea of bitterness around him. Then, he looked at the 3,000 arhats beside the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva and the vast Buddhist nation behind him. In the midst of great chaos, there would always be ambitious people stirring up trouble. Clearly, this Kittagarbha Bodhisattva before him was one such person. He swore not to become a Buddha until hell was empty. However, once he became a Buddha, he would become the new epic master. Chapter 13:13. Without saying a word, he struck out with his palm. Boom! When the Sky Dome Immortal Lord threw a palm strike, his body swelled with the wind. When the palm wind landed, his body was already comparable to the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's. Immortal might spread out from his body, sweeping away all the Buddhist light in this sea of bitterness. Amidst the loud explosion, the Buddhist kingdom behind Kittagarbha Bodhisattva shattered, scattering light everywhere. The layers of Buddhist light on his body dimmed several times in an instant. In his rage, the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva burned with rage. Buddhist light covered his entire body. Boom! What answered the Sky Dome Immortal Lord was the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's second palm strike. When this palm strike landed, the 3,000 arhats all died. The Kittagarbha Bodhisattva felt somewhat afraid. He saw a kind of coldness in the sky dome Immortal Lord. It was a coldness that made one forget about life and death. Nothing mattered, including one's own life. Right now, he was extremely regretful. This kind of person could not be entangled at all. Even if he killed him, he would still be the one to suffer a loss. One of these two palm strikes destroyed his Buddhist kingdom, and the other destroyed his 3,000 arhat. Who knew how long it would take for him to recover? It was because of these two palm strikes that the Qing emperor had the opportunity to behead him. The so-called karma had already been planted long ago. Without these two palm strikes, none of the subsequent events would have happened. Stop. I'll let you go, Xidigarbha said. The sky dome Immortal Lord withdrew his hand, and his figure shrank as he vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. When the blood landed in the sea of bitterness, it immediately spread out and burned the millions of aggrieved spirits to death. Shao Chen thought to himself that his previous life was so domineering. With just 2 palm strikes, Shao Chen forced the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to obediently let him pass without saying a word. Similarly, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord did not say anything as he quickly returned. He came to a group of immortals and said calmly, "It's done." The last of the immortals were overjoyed, and a smile appeared on their tired faces. All right, the 6 paths of reincarnation should still be intact. We can leave through the heavenly Tao. There's always a way out. There's always a chance. We've finally escaped this calamity. When the new era stabilizes, we can come back and rebuild the celestial world, restoring our glory. That's right. As long as the immortals don't die, the world will still be ours. Seeing the group of excited immortals, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord remained silent, not saying anything. But when the group of immortals arrived before the 6 paths of reincarnation, they were all dumbfounded. Without exception, the 6 paths of reincarnation had all shattered. It's over, everything is over. The heavens are going to exterminate the immortal, their fate energy has reached its end. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord stretched out a finger and executed a supreme magic skill. The human path in the 6 paths of reincarnation started to slowly heal. When the Sky Dome Immortal Lord finished executing the magic skill, the human path of reincarnation completely recovered. Sky Dome Immortal Lord, how can you still have such strong magic energy? The reconstruction of the human Tao cycle is useless to us. Sky Dome Immortal Lord, go and rebuild the heavenly Tao cycle. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord shook his head and said, "If you want to leave, leave now. I have not reconstructed the cycle of reincarnation. It is only temporarily restored. I do not know when it will shatter. However, the path of reincarnation is connected to space and time. There definitely won't be any immortal chi there. If we go, we'll just be waiting for death." That's right. Only the heavenly Tao's cycle of reincarnation can allow us to cultivate and restore our glory. Whoosh! The Sky Dome Immortal Lord did not say anything more. His figure flashed as he went through the cycle of reincarnation. The other immortals showed sorrowful and helpless expressions. They sighed repeatedly and shook their heads as they followed in. The scene changed. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord and the last group of immortals arrived in a savage world. Not only did this world not have immortal chi, but it was also filled with danger. The immortals used their remnant magic energy to defeat the natives of this savage world. Then, they started to rebuild this world. Time passed. 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100 million years. The immortals died one after another. With each death, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord would bury them, leaving behind a nameless gravestone. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord ran all over the place, refining all sorts of medicinal pills, doing his best to extend the lifespans of the other immortals. However, there was nothing that could be done. There was no immortal chi on Earth. Like they said, these immortals could only silently wait for death. Shao Chen could feel the sorrow in the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's heart. That heart of his had actually died long ago. Time passed slowly. The original savage world had already changed. Tall buildings, planes, and trains had appeared long ago. When Xiao Chen saw this, he understood everything. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord was Xiao Chen's previous incarnation. That savage world was the earth that he once lived on. Little San was astonished again and again. Her chatterbox nature made her chatter nonstop. Every time she saw something from Earth, she would mutter to herself for a long time. However, Xiao Chen did not hear a single word. Indeed, his arrival in this world was not a coincidence. There had never been any coincidences in this world. Everything was predestined. Clearly, the final luck of the immortal epoch landed on the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. However, this was not a good thing. Even the Sky Dome Immortal Lord could not avoid death. Before he died, he had to endure boundless loneliness. He had to watch his friends die one by one and personally build gravestones for them. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord could only watch as an epoch ended in his own hands, unable to reverse the situation. No one could understand such grief. In the end, all the immortals died, leaving only the Sky Dome Immortal Lord alone in this world. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord's aura grew increasingly weaker. Occasionally, he made some calculations and looked at the starry heavens, like he was waiting for something in the final moments of his life. Xiao Chen calmed himself. He had figured out several things. He knew that the answer he had been seeking would appear soon. A saber light tore through the starry heavens. Then, an azure figure flashed and headed for Earth. This figure was in a sorry state. His clothes were tattered, and he looked incredibly weak, like he was severely injured. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he held his breath and focused. It's here. Everything, all the answers, will be revealed soon. However, just as that azure figure raised his head and Xiao Chen saw his appearance, a gaze looked towards Xiao Chen and Little Three. A gaze looked at Xiao Chen and Little Three. It was the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. It was like the Sky Dome Immortal Lord discovered two people sneaking around in the past. This made Xiao Chen's and Little Three's hearts tighten at the same time. Bang! Before the two could react, they saw the Sky Dome Immortal Lord send out a palm strike. It was like the two suffered a heavy blow and went flying back. This startled Xiao Chen awake. When he recovered his wits, he discovered that he was already on the 9th floor of the ancient desolate tower. Everything in the past, all the various scenes, felt like a dream. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Little Three is in so much pain. In the three-life mirror, the pretty item spirit teared up in pain as she rolled on the ground, acting like a spoiled child. Get up! Get up! Quickly tell me what's going on! Xiao Chen exclaimed excitedly as he looked at the pretty little girl in the mirror. This was simply too strange. When the Sky Dome Immortal Lord attacked in the three-life mirror, he could still attack them. The palm strike from Xiao Chen's previous life forced his current self out. Furthermore, this happened at the most crucial moment, when Xiao Chen was about to see the azure-robed bladesman. He could not see anything. Could it be that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord is not dead yet? Little Three stood up and stretched her neck and arms. Then, she said doubtfully, Little Three does not know what's going on either. Elder Brother White Robes, don't worry. Let Little Three help you think about what exactly is going on. The pretty little girl rubbed her chin and frowned. Then, she paced back and forth in the mirror, muttering to herself. The past is already in the past. First of all, I can be sure that this person is already dead. In that case, that palm strike earlier is easy to explain. Some strong immortals are good at divination. It is not impossible for them to predict certain things in the future. Little Three is really smart. That must be the case. Little Three said excitedly to Xiao Chen, Elder Brother White Robes, it is like this. This Sky Dome Immortal Lord already predicted that someone would peek at this scene in the future. Hence, he made a backup plan at that time, erasing this part of the past so that no one could see it. Xiao Chen asked, feeling depressed, how can it be like this? Isn't your three-life mirror supposed to be able to see the various things of the past? Little Three narrowed her eyes and smiled embarrassedly. That is true. Actually, Little Three was created by an immortal. Several immortals had means to avoid being peeked at. The magic skills and strength of the immortals from the immortal epoch are not something you can imagine now. Just think about it. Since the three-life mirror can see the past and the future, naturally, the immortals would have means to counter it. After all, if someone saw their future and past, it would be equivalent to knowing all their karma. To immortals, that would be very dangerous. Shao Chen said in understanding. That is to say, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord could not be sure who the person peeking at the past was. However, out of caution, he did not allow anyone to see it. Yes, that's it. Elder Brother White Robes, you are really smart. So, don't be unhappy. Little Three said with a smile after she figured it out. Shao Chen thought to himself. If he did not guess wrong, that azure-clad bladesman was definitely the Qing Emperor. That azure-clad bladesman gave off saber intent. Back then, the Qing Emperor happened to kill the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva, leaving behind a saber light in the Yellow Springs land. It was very likely that the Qing Emperor had gone through the cycle of reincarnation and arrived on Earth in a space-time tunnel. Through this scene of Shao Chen's previous life, he could connect all the clues together. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor fought with the final Tianwu Emperor. Then, he fought with the 18 Demon Monarch. After he returned to the Sky Dome realm, the powerhouses of the various races surrounded and attacked him. The Qing Emperor was already besieged on all sides and had nowhere to go. Left with no choice, he came to the Yellow Springs Road. After traveling through the space-time tunnel, he arrived on Earth and saw the dying Sky Dome Immortal Lord. In that case, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's purchase of the Compendium of Cultivation and the so-called Immortal Pill might not have been as simple as a coincidence. As the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's reincarnation, it was logical for him to obtain the luck of the Sky Dome realm. As for the Sky Dome Immortal Lord, he possessed the final luck of the Immortal Epoch. His rise in the Kunlun realm could also be explained. Karma. Without the karma of the previous life, there would not be the current karma. What a great scheme! Just thinking about it made Shao Chen tremble in fear. However, was it the Qing Emperor who laid this scheme or the Sky Dome Immortal Lord himself? 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor was so strong, who led the entire Kunlun realm to attack him. All this was still a mystery. Shao Chen narrowed his eyes and said, I have to become a martial emperor. I have to become a martial emperor. Only by going to the Blue Dragon Palace can I know everything that happened back then. Chapter 13-14. Elder Brother White Robes, do you want to see the future? See if you can become a martial emperor. Little Three suddenly asked in anticipation. Curious, Shao Chen asked, didn't you say that the past and the future can only be seen once? Little Three smiled and said, indeed. However, didn't Elder Brother White Robes not finish seeing the past? Naturally, Little Three has to make it up to you. Shao Chen smiled faintly and said, originally, I had some reservations about you. I did not expect you to have such thoughts. Little Three is very kind-hearted. How about it? Do you want it? Shao Chen shook his head and said decisively, thank you. However, I do not want to see what the future is like. I do not even need to look to know my future. I will either live a grand life or die a grand death. No matter what the result is, I will not regret it. That was right. After seeing through the past, Shao Chen's heart became clearer and he understood himself better. He was born extraordinary. Whether he was willing or not, the Blue Dragon King Shao Chen would live a grand life. He would either be eternal like the sun or like a meteor, disappearing in a flash. However, so what if he was a meteor? There were only 4 words in life. No regrets. When Little Three heard Shao Chen's words, her expression changed. Elder Brother White Robes, can you help me? Just take a look. What do you mean? Since Little Three was created, it has always been in this ancient, desolate tower. 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, it has always been here. In the past, when Master was still around, he said that if one day I met a person whose past I could not see through and whose future I could not see through, then Little Three could leave. The liveliness on the pretty item spirit's face vanished. Her eyes turned slightly moist as she looked at Xiao Chen in anticipation. Many years have passed, and Little Three has been waiting. However, there has never been a person whose past I could not see through. There has never been a person whose future I could not see through. Elder Brother White Robes, please help me. Let's see your future, all right? Xiao Chen could not see through the past. As long as he could not see through the future, then he was right. Xiao Chen looked around. There might not even be a single person in the 9th floor of the ancient desolate tower every few thousand years. The person who created the three-life mirror was very cruel, locking up a little girl here for thousands or tens of thousands of years, not allowing her to go. You want to leave? Xiao Chen asked calmly. A trace of loneliness and solitude appeared on Little Three's face. I've seen so many people's past lives and pasts, but Little Three doesn't have a past life or a future. Xiao Chen felt sorrowful. He stretched out his hand and placed it in the three-life mirror. Then, he looked at the beautiful artifact spirit and said, "Grab my hand. I will bring you away." Little Three smiled happily and said, "All right, I'll bring Brother White Robes to see the future. There's no need. I'll just take you away." Just as the beautiful artifact spirit was about to drag Xiao Chen in, Xiao Chen suddenly turned around and grabbed Little Three's hand, forcefully pulling. Under Little Three's astonished gaze, he forcibly pulled her out. What? Little Three's body passed through the water curtain-like mirror and walked out incredulously. As she looked around, her adorable face filled with shock. After a while, Little Three felt both startled and happy. Elder Brother White Robes, why? Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, "Everyone has to live for themselves. Why is it that you have to be trapped here for countless years with just one sentence from that person? Why is it that I have to see my future just because of one sentence from that person? I don't want to see it." The beautiful artifact spirit was stunned by Xiao Chen's words. She felt somewhat conflicted and vexed. However, suddenly, Little Three laughed happily. "Ah, that's right. It can't be wrong. Elder Brother White Robes is you. The past that I can't see through, the future that I can't see through. If you don't even let me see, how can I see through the future? The past that I can't see through, the future that I can't see through." The White Robes, Xiao Chen was the person destined to bring her away from this place. This stunned Xiao Chen. How could it be like this? By doing the exact opposite, he fulfilled the requirements of the three-life mirror's original owner. Little Three stretched out her hand and waved, causing the three-life mirror to shrink into an ordinary-sized mirror. Then, she held it in her hand and said, "Come, let's leave this place." Xiao Chen prepared to use the same trick again, shattering space and breaking the many restrictions to leave this place. "There is no need to go through so much trouble. I'll bring you out directly." Holding Xiao Chen's hand, Little Three's figure flashed, and she easily brought him away from this place. Xiao Chen felt shocked in his heart. This instant movement technique was truly incredible. It was much more brilliant than when he tore space. Space did not break at all, and it flickered. This gave Xiao Chen the feeling of a transportation formation. Perhaps this was the true state of space. It was much stronger than the barbaric method of tearing space. However, this was not too strange either. The three-life mirror could see the past and predict the future. Clearly, its creator had deep attainments in the space-time Tao. If he was able to grasp even the time Tao so clearly, there was no doubt that he would be able to grasp the space Tao. Little Three explained, "Hee. This is the minor universe movement magic ability. It requires extremely high attainments in the state of space before one can practice it. It looks very incredible. However, practically all the immortals back then knew it. The difficult part is the minor universe movement. Xiao Chen nodded, indicating that he somewhat understood. Ao Jiao had been waiting for a long time and felt incredibly anxious. When she saw Little Three beside Xiao Chen, she exclaimed in shock, "Xiao Chen, why did you bring this nagger out?" Little Three's eyes lit up. She smiled and said, "Little Ao Jiao. It's actually you. It has been a long, long time. Elder sister Little Three misses you very much." Ao Jiao showed a stern expression, ignoring Little Three. Then, she looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Have you seen the future? What is it like?" Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry. I chose the past and did not look at the future." Upon hearing this, Ao Jiao heaved a clear sigh of relief. Then, Xiao Chen explained the matter of Little Three in detail. When Xiao Chen heard that Little Three would be following them temporarily, he smiled and said, Little Three, you really are a Little Three." "Haha. Little Ao Jiao, you are actually jealous. It looks like Little Three is rather charming." Little Three covered her mouth as she laughed, feeling very cocky. When Xiao Chen saw the two arguing with each other, he smiled bitterly and could not be bothered with them. He walked straight away, preparing to return to Qingyun Peak. He had already spent enough time in the Sky Dome realm. In another month, he would have only half a year left of his 5-year deadline. At that time, his peaceful days would come to an end, and he would have to go to the Kunlun realm. When Ao Jiao and Little Three saw Xiao Chen leave, they quickly followed. When they saw Ao Jiao enter the immortal spirit ring, Little Three turned into a beam of light and entered as well. For the past year, Xiao Chen had spent most of his time sightseeing, retracing the steps he had taken. The trip to the ancient desolate tower had put an end to this part of his journey, giving him one last thought. The so-called harvest could only be described with one word: peace. The 2.5 years in the Sky Dome realm were a rare period of leisure for Xiao Chen. After another month, he would go to the Kunlun realm. To Xiao Chen, peace was an extremely extravagant term. However, Xiao Chen had long understood that he had an extraordinary background. He could not truly remain peaceful. This peace was just to welcome an even greater storm, the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire. In the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire, one would either live with a bang or die with a bang. In the back mountain of Qingyun Peak, Xiao Chen practiced all sorts of martial techniques, digesting what he had gained in the past year. Within the Taiji force field, Xiao Chen's body alternated between fast and slow movements as he moved about. Sometimes he was like a blue dragon going out to sea, moving the clouds in all directions. Sometimes he was like an immortal fish swinging its tail, nimble and ever-changing. Suddenly, Xiao Chen drew his saber, and his saber domain spread out. Within 1 kilometer, the saber domain and the Taiji force field overlapped, forming the strange and unfathomable Taiji saber domain. The saber intent turned into a dragon and split into two, one yin and one yang. One bright and one dark, one left and one right, they formed a simple Taiji diagram of the great Tao on the ground. As Xiao Chen stood in the middle, his saber light became unfathomable. Yang energy was ferocious and tyrannical, howling with rage. Yin energy used softness to overcome hardness, formless and invisible. Executing the fish-dragon step, Xiao Chen's body appeared and disappeared in the Taiji saber domain. At one moment, he was boundlessly ferocious with a flourishing aura. At another, he was as still as water, formless and invisible. Yin and Yang merged. Taiji saber domain merge. With a thought, the two dragons that formed the Taiji saber domain intertwined like snakes and merged into Xiao Chen's body. Immediately, the saber released a simple and unadorned light. Xiao Chen's eyes were as clear as water. As he grasped his saber, he thrust it forward. Xiao Chen's body slid forward. Everywhere the tip of the saber passed, space silently split in half. There was only one point at the tip of the saber. However, this one-point attack opened a door to another world. Taiji saber domain, explode. Shao Chen sheathed his saber. The peaceful and tranquil aura within 1 kilometer suddenly turned into a great flood and ferocious beast, completely unpredictable. This Taiji explosion was different from the previous few times. This time, everyone heard only one sound from the Taiji explosion, the ferocious roar of the saber. This was the eruption of the saber, the rage of the saber, the ferocity of the saber. The sound of the saber was like the wind in space, buzzing loudly. The entire world trembled. When Shao Chen looked at the results of his 1 year of cultivation, he revealed a satisfied expression. Even though his cultivation had not increased, his accumulations had increased once more. In this peaceful and tranquil state of mind, Shao Chen's cultivation of the Taiji Dao advanced to the next level. One did not have to torture oneself half to death in order to increase one's strength. The improvement of one's mental state often brought unexpected surprises. With my current strength, I should not have to fear a third Heaven Emperor Wu, Shao Chen said calmly. Even if it is a third Heaven Emperor Wu, the peak, I am confident of defeating my opponent. The third heaven was a hurdle. Within the third heaven, there were only minor Heavenly Emperor Wu. Many of the old seniors did not dare to undergo their lightning tribulations and would remain in the third heaven for 1,000 years, even 2,000 years. If he ran into such an old monster, Shao Chen could not guarantee that he would be unrivaled among the third heaven Emperor Wu. When Shao Chen looked up, he vaguely saw an emperor's door in the sky. This was not an illusion. Every blue-robed emperor who was about to undergo his great tribulation of wind and fire would see this emperor's door. When the great tribulation of wind and fire descended, this emperor's door would appear in the real world. Steps of different colors would descend. These steps were known as the Emperor's Road. Each step was a hurdle, and each step was a tribulation. If one could clear the great tribulation of wind and fire and reach the end of the steps, they would be able to open the Emperor's door.